We'll be talking lots and lots about newer technologies, newer innovation, some of the use cases nominated by some of our partners, and there is a special segment called startup pitching, wherein we call it innovation showcase, wherein we have curated source some of the best lot from different parts of the country. You will be surprised and amazed to see the innovation happening, especially in the tier 2, tier 3 cities of India. We have startups from Jammu, we have startups from the border area of India, Pakistan, in Punjab. They've been working on lots of deep tech technology, right? So my point is there is a lot of action happening today. So we have a full packed session today, and so we'll be starting in next 5 minutes. We have Asthana sir with us today. Welcome, sir. We have Dr. Saluja from Religare. So the panel is well placed, extremely well placed. Along with it, we have added a flavor of startup pitching, as I said. Along with that, we have success story showcase, wherein we'll be talking about the impact that we have measured, that we have actually seen after deploying a particular solution within a problem statement, right? A lot of action today, a lot of segments today. So please be seated. We are all set to start in next 5 minutes. So please, you can. All right. May I know how many startups do we have in the house? Can you please raise your hand? Can we have a loud cheer from startups today? Awesome. Well, looks like a full house. So the day is special. I'll tell you why. Because we have 4 eyes of the ecosystem today. We have industry leaders. We have Rashmi. We have Asthana sir. We have innovators, right? Startups. The third eye, we have investors with us today. The fourth eye, we have institutions with us today. So today, there are 4 eyes under one roof, celebrating innovation, talking about newer technologies. And, so I'll end up, without much ado, I'll end up by, talking about we all are innovators. Let's talk about newer ideas. Let's engage among ourselves. Let's talk to some of our startups, some of our partners, right? And celebrate innovation, celebrate today's day. Thank you so much. Now, in the next 2 minutes, we'll probably start. As we can see, Ghanti baj gayi hai bahar, right? We can expect more people coming in. The seats are already full. So on that note, may we please invite our today's MC, Sujata. So while she joins in, so there is a specific format that I would like to tell you that we have created. So we are proud owners of this particular specific format. It's called Elevated Pitch. So that's what we have set up for all our startups present today. The startups will have 3 minutes to talk about their innovation and the impact that their solution can create or has a potential to create. And during the 3 minutes, he'll be on the stage. There will be a one-pager deck that will be played in the background, a static deck. And after that, we'll open up questions from our jury. All right. So Sujata, are we all set? With your permission, sir, can we start? All right.
Hello. Hello, and a very good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. As we begin this today's session, I would like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Malhotra, CEO, MITI NASSCOM CoE, to begin the session with a welcome note for you all. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful event. Welcome to this nice venue we have and the wonderful morning in Bangalore. It's always wonderful in Bangalore, actually, and today happens to be one of the better ones. Uh, you know, today's event covers the theme of innovation in enterprises, in financial services, and we'll be covering range of topics in today's session. But before I go further and talk about some of the details of this, I'd like to introduce one of my colleagues. Please, can we meet her? Meet Devika, please.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the AI Strategies Driving Enterprise Success event. My name is Devika, and I am thrilled to be with you today. I have recently joined the NASSCOM Center of Excellence, and I have been involved in the incredible innovation happening at the center. Today, we will explore the transformative power of AI and its potential for organizations in the digital age. From machine learning algorithms to enhancing customer experiences, automation to data driven decision making, we will uncover how AI revolutionizes industries. This event offers a great networking opportunity to share thoughts and forge collaborations for an innovative future. A heartfelt thanks to our partners for the support. Let's embark on this enlightening journey, embracing AI's power and paving the way for limitless possibilities. Once again, welcome to the event.
Thank you, Devika. I made my job easier by having Devika do the welcome note, and she has regretted for not being here in person because she's not a person. So, any resemblance to the real life character, you can say that is just coincidental. Kalpanik character. So, we are going to be having more of these so-called digital assistants, digital or AI-assisted helper for us, in day-to-day tasks, which we have already started doing. AI is no longer a futuristic thing. AI is already here. In fact, most of us have already started using this on regular basis, and we'll see that people like Devika will become more and more skilled in the coming years, and that will help us doing our day-to-day tasks and free us for doing something more productive or something or higher pursuits of our profession. So with that, also I'd like to introduce one model of AI bank, which is about more than a year old, published by McKinsey. What an AI bank looks like. If you see some elements of this, some of this have already come into reality, and some of this is already maybe finding its way into some of the financial institutions. Some of these elements that we see here, as I said, we'll be talking more about it. But the point I want to make here is financial institutions have been little ahead when it comes to adoption of technologies. Other industries are still working their way up. When we talk of industries in mining and manufacturing and healthcare, in logistics, everybody is working their way up when it comes to adoption of technologies. But when it comes to fintech, I think they have been little ahead of the curve, and that's why I brought up this example. I'll not go into the details of it because a lot of you are pretty much, maybe know more about it than I can talk about it. But we will be spending rest of the day talking about hearing from other industries, be it in the auto area, be it in the mining area, or be it in the logistics area. We'll hear from them. We will hear from some of the upcoming companies who are going to be unicorns very soon, who are working their way to 100 million club. There's a lot of learning to do from them. In fact, I would recommend some of you to meet some of the people who have set up their stalls here. I think not many will know. In fact, I did not know till a few weeks ago that there are companies sitting in Gurgaon who have got 500 million downloads of apps. 500 million download apps. I was telling them soon you will be start competing with Aadhaar card. The half the Indian population is already downloaded that, and they're covering now rest of the world. It is amazing to see the work of some of these innovators. I think it is something that we all have to work together, find a way to grow this Indian ecosystem of innovation, and look forward to interesting and productive discussions during the day. And again, very warm welcome to all of you. And we'll start the proceeding by inviting my colleague Navratan to take the next session forward. Thank you.
I hope everybody is comfortable. Men do not have the luxury of a lady's purse, so we have to wear the coat so that there are pockets. And the pockets are meant so that when you do the networking here, you have enough visiting cards exchanged. So with that, I would like to introduce today's keynote address, Debashish Bal, Senior Vice President, Data Science and AI Fidelity Investments. And he's got a world-class team creating analytics for the connected world. He comes over 3 decades of experience applying analytics solutions to varied domains of business problems, ranging from investment banking, energy, aviation, transport, health, and financial services. He currently is the Senior VP Data Science and AI. I'm not sure whether he's not touched any of the things which can be covered under the AI part. Debashish, please join.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that generous introduction. Thank you, Team NASSCOM, for organizing this event today. I'm really fortunate to join here as the keynote speaker for this event. As we saw, a couple of instances already, Devika speaking to us in a virtual avatar, and of course, Sanjay is showing the AI bank of the future. Those are some of the realities of our life today. AI is no longer in the realm of futuristic thinking or imaginations or things like that. They're very much real in our life. And I can say that because in my career, I've seen the sort of progression from the data warehousing, primitive analytics, advanced analytics, going into machine learning and AI, and various flavors of AI, right? Be it discriminative AI or generative AI, or even now we are going towards artificial general intelligence, right? With all the developments which are happening around us. So with that, I think AI is one of the real power engines of innovation today, right? And I'm so happy to see so many startups coming up here today to showcase their products and the value proposition, and even the investors or even people from business community are also joining. But I can tell you this, that I come from, I represent Fidelity Investment today. And as you know, Fidelity Investments is one of the large investment banks in the US. And we have, trillions of assets and millions of customers and all of that. But as far as applying technologies like AI is concerned, right, we are all like startups, because this is something that every sort of big companies, leave aside the big tech who are kind of defining the most advanced sort of developments in this area. But apart from them, any big corporate, when they are thinking about applying AI to their current business processes, to the digital transformations that we are seeing, they have to act like startups. So even my team, as well as the infrastructure that we work with, we all work like startups. So having said that, I think today I would like to share sort of 2 or 3 key things that comes to my mind as far as success of AI strategy is concerned. Whether big or small, whether startup or a established global firm, there are a couple of things which is very important. And this is almost generically true for any technology, nothing specific to AI, but I think there has to be a good business demand for the AI technology to succeed. And that is very important to create in our respective companies or even startups looking for markets and segments to kind of sell their products to, right? So business demand is actually the key driver. That goes with awareness, of course, a lot of awareness of the leaders who can think of how to apply this technology in their areas. So that's a must. But apart from that, I think the way as practitioners, even we can help propagate, how AI can actually help driving various business strategies, whether it is differentiation strategy, whether it is creating scale economies, or whether it is, being in a very, very plain and simple language, being very close to, to our customers, listening to them in real time and responding them faster, right? So it is up to us to sort of create this entire environment or ecosystem where we can define those business strategies. So after the business demand and strategy is defined, I think the next thing that we should keep in mind is there has to be a few things which need to be in place for the AI systems to work. Data is, I think, one primary thing, which I think we have fixed quite a bit by now. But even there are places where I can see that the necessary data infrastructure is not there yet. So apart from data, I think the model development, productionization environment, all that is very critical for making AI really be part of the business strategies in a day-to-day manner. And when I say that, because we have done all this in a even a bigger institution like Fidelity Investments, right? But above all, I think a governance infrastructure is very critical, which we know the kind of AI we are now seeing come up. So there has to be appropriate amount of diligence required for testing out these models against biases, against unforeseen results that these models can sometimes give. The data privacy issue is coming up more and more. We have seen, generative AI is creating so much of controversies with the creative community, like the writers, movie content writers, and all of that. So I think as professionals who are focused in this function or the technology, and it is our responsibility to sort of be very mindful of privacy issues, creating trust, and making sure that these models or the output of this technology is not biased, etc. So there has to be a very strong governance framework around it, whether it's a startup, whether it's a big corporate which is leveraging this technology. I strongly urge that we should create this kind of a framework, and even sometimes through bodies like NASSCOM, we can actually influence the national policies which can come up. And we are seeing quite a bit of government action which is going to happen in near future in this area. So we can actually constructively influence those areas as well. So these are some of the thoughts that come to my mind today as I stand here, addressing this August gathering for this event. So all the very best to everybody. Let's take away the maximum possible from this event today. And my compliments to the NASSCOM team for organizing this. I wish we'll see more and more startups in this area and taking India as a startup capital in the AI front. Thank you so much.
We can't let you go like that. So let me introduce, for giving the appreciation gifts to him, let me introduce Dr. Rashmi Saluja. Please welcome Dr. Saluja on the stage. She's a doctor and entrepreneur. She's an MBBS, MD, MBA Finance, LLB, PhD by qualification. If I was in the job of an MC and being paid by the number of words that I speak, I will be a rich man by now. Seeding new businesses and involved in social and charitable activities, Dr. Saluja has an administrative experience of more than 25 years. She is an executive chairperson of the Relicare Enterprise Limited, a core investment company registered with the RBI. Dr. Saluja, please come on the stage to give the... Let me also introduce Dr. Rakesh Asthana. Please come on the stage. Dr. Rakesh Asthana is a former IPS officer. He has served as the Special Director at the CBI. He was appointed and served as the 24th Commissioner of Police, Delhi Police. Mr. Rakesh will be moderating a panel later on as well. You'll see him talking. He started the first safe city in Surat in India and got the gold medal for it. And you know, nobody likes that flying in the security area of the airport. You know that? The metal scanner which tickles you, right? He is the person who introduced the full body scanner, so you don't get the tickling anymore. Dr. Asthana, please come on the stage. Sanjeev, please join. So we'll request you to give a gift to, please. I'm not a doctor. Everything else but a doctor. You know, he's a man who is so curious, and the curiosity and the innovation, we generally call what is an honorary doctorate that can be given to people who have that kind of innovative mind. Thank you very much. I will trouble you a little more later. Let me introduce you to Sunicon keynote of the day. Ramanathan RV, founder of JustPay, co-founder of Hyperface as well. He's the co-founder Asia's first credit card as a service platform. Many of you would not have heard of that. Solving for transactional credit. A staunch believer in modern technology, he was a co-founder and CTO of JustPay, a $450 million US payments company funded by SoftBank. You will hear back more from him. Ramanathan, please.
Thank you for that introduction. Good morning to you all. It's a privilege to be here and speak in front of this esteemed audience. We a lot of us think that, you know, what we currently see, and we try to project that, and that is what keeps us going on a day-to-day basis. Like, we are a SoftBank funded company today, but when we had started the company, we would have been lucky if we had gotten a $150 million outcome, right? That was the aim that we had, but today there's no looking back. And this is all connected to the theme of today, why we are all assembled here, right? The artificial intelligence part. When I started my career first with Amazon, I was doing something pertaining to machine learning. And obviously, you know, as with most of these e-commerce companies, optimize the advertisements, which is the revenue spinner. And that requires a lot of investment into data and machine learning, right? But we've come quite a long way. I got involved in financial services even before the term fintech was coined, right? And have been doing this for nearly 15 years now. The problem at that time that we took up was very simple. How do you build technology that can enable us to distribute financial services to every nook and corner of the country, right? And this was at a time when there was no mobile phones, there was internet was very expensive, and laptops were very expensive as well, right? But that did not stop us from not attempting to solve that, because technology was expanding in a big way. It was becoming commodity by the day. And today where we are, it's completely different to go back 20 years and see where technologies were, right? And one of the biggest achievements that I want to talk about is UPI, right? Today, UPI does a cool 310 million transactions a day, a day, right? And 10 years ago, we would have been lucky if we had done 300 million transactions a month, right? That was the scale where we were and where we are. And it's a crowning achievement for us in the fintech industry, which inspires a lot of startups to think big and to achieve big, right? Today, we can proudly say at the world stage that we've created a world-class product. Now, why am I talking about UPI, right? See, digitization is key for us to generate data which can be used for machine learning algorithms. And of course, when we talk about artificial intelligence, there are a class of problems that can only be solved when there is a lot of access to data, right? And data fundamentally gets created when things get digitized, right? I think today, if you see, UPI is a great success story, but we've achieved remarkable growth across the wider gamut of the fintech ecosystem, right? Which is across banking, wealth, insurance, lending, right from KYC to agreement signing to disbursement of loans or other fulfillment of services, be it investment or insurance, right? Everything has gone end-to-end digital, right? And this is, of course, the need of the business to actually optimize cost is pushing this, right? But this digitization is what is going to enable us to get to the next level of growth, which will be defined by the algorithms of machine learning and artificial intelligence. See, what makes startups successful, right? Like, why is it that we're able to now create billion-dollar companies, but 20 years ago we were not able to? Number one, the presence of a very large market, right? And number two is the expertise to create a product for that market, right? And which is what we've done so far. When we look back and see many successful unicorns in the country, they have kept expanding the domestic market in India, right? Of course, the companies like Freshworks, for example, tapped into the international market, but a lot of domestic market focused companies like ours, right? We've been also able to grow our business thanks to the growth of the domestic market. Again, coming back to our topic of AI, right? The presence of really large market and that market demanding a product is very key for us to succeed as startups, right? And the success of startups is very important because the pace at which innovation happens in a startup is much, much higher. Look, in my mind, when I look at technology, right, the mental model that I have is that there are 4 levels to technology. Let's call them L4, L3, L2, and L1. Now, L4 is support and services, right? We do a whole lot of that, which is I would say probably the easiest of the technology. We created tech giants that actually bet on the expansion of L4 services into across the world, right? And they laid the foundation for us to actually get to L3, which is your applications, right? What we see today are e-commerce applications and fintech applications. These are L3 technologies which actually cater to consumer needs. And L2 technologies, we have the platforms that enable the L3 technologies, right? The platforms such as, say, UIDAI, UPI, ONDC, right? These are all platforms that are today enabling a lot of startups to build applications on top. Now, at L1 technology, which is the most sophisticated one, which is the forte of big tech, what are they, right? They are operating systems, databases, browsers, semiconductors, drones, and of course, AI as well, right? These L1 technologies are today not in our control. I believe that in the next decade, it is in fact our responsibility to actually creating L1 technologies. And there is a reason why that matters as well. Take AI, for example, right? There is a This is a very important. It's a very important technology to solve a lot of problems at scale. And yet, however, the cultural aspect of what problems we have in India is very different from the problems that, let's say, a company in the US or the society in the US faces, right? Uh, uh, and to that end, if the technology that we are depending on them, if that is not available for us to put in the local context, for simple example, today ChatGPT works in a particular language, right? What does it take for us to build the equivalent in, say, our languages, right? We have so many languages, right? And we want to take this technology to our people. Now, if we don't understand, if we don't invest in that core technology, then we will never be able to take this to our people, right? And and that's why I say that, we are at the very early stages of evolution of AI. It is very important for us to invest domestically in creating this L1 technology. We were not ready when operating systems evolved, when browsers evolved, but today we are ready. We have a market. We don't have the expertise. We have to develop the expertise, but we can borrow it, right? And we can actually develop technologies for our own use, right? And in one thing about AI is that it's not a magic wand. There are two classes of problems. One is a problem where you don't need a lot of data, which I call individual intelligence. To give you an example, it could be a personal assistant. It could be a counselor for a student in a school setting. The other class of problems is a group intelligence, which essentially is, for instance, let's say across UPI, we want to solve the problem of fraud or AML detection, right? An individual cannot solve, an individual human can never be able to solve this problem unless they are very omniscient and have access to, can digest a lot of data, right? So these two class of problems are very different and they require very different ways of solving this, right? Without data itself, we can solve for a lot of problems. For instance, I believe that education can be disrupted in a big way. Every kid having a student counselor that understands the data about the kid and shapes the kid's future by giving relevant nudges at the right time and then handholds that kid through the growth stage, right? Now that doesn't require tons and tons of data. It just requires us to build a little bit of intelligence and start providing those guidance to kids, right? Imagine that future, right, where every person is empowered and they become skilled as a person, as a human, right? Which is what enables us to grow to the next level, right? The group intelligence problems, I think that we tend to overestimate a lot, over-index a lot, but that individual intelligence, which doesn't require so much of data, doesn't get a lot of attention. I believe that is a very fundamentally transformation technology. Whereas, of course, group intelligence does help us businesses grow, right? For instance, solving for fraud, solving for AML, right? We will do that as a requirement to enhance our business, right? But they are not fundamentally transforming, right? That's my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll request Dr. Rashmi again on this stage, Sanjeev and Mr. Asthana. So let me also introduce Mr. Sanjeev Malhotra. He is a CEO of CoE. Now that is a tongue twister. You could probably run a competition in your office. Who speaks CEO, CoE fastest 10 times? Well, please.
So we have had him here before he becomes a unicorn next year. Next year, he may not have time to come here. So we said, okay, let's get him here today.
It's very common that the doctor says eat a fruit in the day. And the confusion is always, is it just in the morning or in the afternoon as well when your stomach is empty? There are doctors who can conflict with this, but let us feed you 2 rounds of fruits. The fruits are startup pitching. We will have one round right away, and I'll invite Naman. Naman, please invite your startups and ask them to showcase what they've done. Please.
Well, once again, very good morning. Yeah. All right. So this is a special session that has been curated with some of the best innovators that we have sourced from different parts of the country, right? And we have got a lot of interesting use cases from lots of our partners. And based on these use cases and otherwise also, some of the latest emerging technologies, some of our in-house or I would say some of our cohort startups are building. We'll be talking about it right now. Before we go ahead with our first presenter of the day, just quickly setting up the contest. So you'll have 3 minutes to talk about your solution, right? 3 minutes is a good enough time to talk about the innovation that you've been working for so long and the potential impact that it can create, right? And briefly on the use case as well. And then probably we'll take some quick questions, right? So maybe we have our first presenter. So we have a company who's working on AI-based claim analysis, right? So, so the event is all about AI. We are celebrating AI. So the first startup's name is Z-Score, or we can call it Z-Score. Can we have them on the screen, please? So may I invite the presenter Dilip, who's a founder of Z-Score. He has spent over 10 years in US. He is from Chennai, settled in Bangalore, working in Bangalore on this innovation, right? So Dilip, quickly, you have 3 minutes, right? Make most of it. Good luck.
Anyway, hello everybody. Great meeting all of you today. My name is Dilip Murali. I am the founder and CEO of Z-Score. Z-Score basically is, when we started this company, we wanted to actually build artificial intelligence on top of business intelligence. That was the focus with which we started this company. And over a period of time, in the first 1.5 years, we realized that there's a lot of problems in data. So we actually went back in our journey to actually solve the data problem. And today, after 5.5 years, we are now building our AI engine, and we built a certain bit of it. So what we do is, we've understood is that in this journey is that for AI to be successful, there's a lot of domain knowledge that's important. And one of the key areas that we were, blessed with was health insurance. So we built a very strong AI module for health insurance, solving key problems like real-time fraud discovery, predictions, where we read directly from, discharge summaries, lab reports, hospital bills. We do integrated analysis. We have our own AI engine called Realize, which we built on a very, very strong data layer. So the idea here is, what we've seen is that predominantly data and AI softwares are generally two different pieces of the puzzle in majority of the organizations. And what happens is, even ChatGPT, for example, it will not solve your data problem. It will actually tell you, fix your data and then give it to me. But that is a very unfeasible solution. And it results in generally AI initiatives being delayed very heavily. Today, because we've built a very strong data layer, and on top of which we built an AI system, we not only identify data issues, we tell the AI engine actually tells you what is the right value, and if you apply that, what is wrong. And eventually you can take that and push it into your data lake or data destination. So that gives you an integrated product with not just AI features, but very strong data features, which eventually push all the intelligence to the, the AI engine. And other than the fraud discovery bit, we also do a lot of, auto adjudication of claims, wherein we not just do it based on standard rules, but we look at it from a policy perspective, medical perspective, and with respect to an analysis, a pricing perspective as well. Then, of course, real-time analysis. We have a Facebook-like feed engine. That's what Realize is all about, which actually constantly keeps throwing up newer, insights and findings. So we'll be very happy to talk to all of you about this product, and feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for the opportunity.
On time pitch. And on time, exact. You utilize almost all the 180 seconds. So we'll take quick questions from anyone who's interested or has specific questions, or otherwise we can meet Dilip afterwards. Anything? All right. So Ashutosh, we have Ashutosh from Religare. Let me go to him directly. So we've been working with Ashutosh on various use cases in the past. Yes. Ashutosh.
Hi. I just wanted to understand a little bit more about the third point where you give real-time feeds for hospital pricing. How does that work and how does that help us?
So think about it this way. So when we get the data, we do something called, so when a data is given to us, okay, we've designed the solution in such a way that the system automatically understands that this is a claims data. It understands every aspect within the data as much as it can understand. Then users can go and train the system to let it know what certain fields are within the data as well. From there, what we do is we build something called data ontologies. So data ontologies are basically relationships between data entities. And we've created specific data ontologies for various use cases in health insurance. And one of them is eventually hospital pricing. So what we do is when we connect to an organization's data source, we not just get their claims data, we also request them, the system eventually requests them that, hey, you have a sum insured column, you have a paid amount column, okay, or paid amount value. If you feed me the hospital package information, I can actually tell you how much of whether this particular value we are paying under the package or above the package, not just based on standard value, but also from a procedure perspective, from a hospital perspective. It will also give you the ICR and everything else.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dilip.
Okay.
Right, we'll take them later because we have more innovators. So we'll take them maybe for the next one, right? Or quickly, yes.
No, it's just a scale question,
Yeah.
right? So right now, I think the system will get a ping with data from the hospital, and then the results will come out. My question is, how many sort of these pings, or how can it scale? And this second alternative, additional question is, are we going? I hope that you're going international with the system.
Yes, actually, we started with our whole journey started in India. We went to Bupa in Australia. We built a little bit of solutions, but post COVID, we've actually got more responses in India. So we're actually attending to more customers in India at this point in time. That's the answer to your second question. The first question is, we don't get things from the hospital. We are actually based from an insurance company perspective. Okay, so every insurance company has hospital pricing and those information available with them. We actually take that data and we actually do auto adjudication and hospital pricing, and AI-based analysis and everything else. So we are not exposed to the hospital, but we are primarily fully based within the insurance industry, insurance companies' data pipelines. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Dilip.
Thank you for the opportunity, everybody.
We'll
Looking
connect
forward.
during the networking. We can take more questions. And to all the innovators who are lined up for the upcoming session, I can tell you, so this is one of the biggest platforms that you can get, considering there are all top-notch leaders sitting here. So I can tell you from my own experience, we have had hosted more than hundreds of sessions under the platform of Open Innovator,
right? And we have seen some of the best success stories coming out of these sessions. Some of the best deployment opportunities that you get on the spot. You must have heard about live, investment opportunities. So this is a platform that gives you the live deployment opportunities, right? Some of our startups are already working with lots of industry leaders present here, right? On the same note,
let me now invite our next presenter for today. We have a company called Newverse. We have Mukesh Matre, who is from Pune, who has come down from Pune to present his case. And I was really amazed by the technology that he has built in. He is here. So you just stand in front of the, his device and show the technology, what they called it RPPG. It can actually detect vital parameters by just looking at your selfie. Is it right? So we have Mukesh with us, Mukesh Matre, ladies and gentlemen. Mukesh, you can come on the stage with your device. Probably you can test it. You have already tested on some of us, right? So, and the parameters were pretty accurate. So, all right, Mukesh, you have 3 minutes, and then we'll take questions.
Good day, everyone. My name is Mukesh Matre, and I represent Newer Health Solutions Private Limited. We are a startup based out of Pune. So what we have here is a technology which works on the smartphones. It uses the same technology which is used in the wearables, which is the photoplethysmography. Here we are doing the same thing remotely. So if you can see here, this is the application that we have developed. I'm going to try and show a demonstration if possible while talking to you. So I'm just looking into my mobile phone right now, and it has started extracting my various health vitals. So this takes about a minute to extract multiple health vitals. Right now, my heart rate, oxygen saturation, respiration rate, blood pressure, hemoglobin, and blood sugar are being extracted. Going forward, we are also going to try and extract cholesterol, blood glucose as well. This technology works solely on the mobile phone. This is complete edge processing. So none of the data is coming to us. And this comes as an SDK, which can be easily integrated into any of the existing applications that any businesses or insurance companies may be having. So it takes about a minute to extract all the health vitals. Right now, yes. So basically, this is how it works. Yeah. So when it comes to the use cases for the insurance industry, we also have a web SDK for the same technology, which works on the mobile phones. It can be used for dynamic underwriting. Basically, a person takes a scan and there is a questionnaire, and then the person can the premium can be shown to him. That is one of the use case. Then underwriting, basically health data of the customers is being collected over a period of time, and which can be analyzed going forward. Then we have various wellness programs. One of our customers is targeting the young audience as their prime customers, and they are going to collect the data over their life period. And according to the data, health data that they collect, they are providing wellness solutions to their customers. Risk management as well, claims processing, and one of the biggest insurance companies is also using this tool as a customer engagement tool, where they have provided this solution as free to use for their customers, and the customer is empowered to measure his health vitals as and when possible, and the company gets
Right, Mukesh.
the details.
Almost
And
time.
those are some of the biomarkers which we are working in the future, which should be out probably 1 year down the line.
So now
Thank
we'll take some quick
Thank you.
questions. I'll go to Bhavesh. We have, ladies and gentlemen, we have Bhavesh from IDFC First Bank. The reason why I'm going directly to him, because he's been very active in engaging with some of our startups. So the IDFC team is already working with 3 of our startups as we speak. What is your question for them?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, guys. In fact, I wanted to understand from you how, when we speak about AI in particular, right, AI technology, and when we say AI, it's about 2 things, data and algos, right?
Yes.
How important is data out of the 2?
So basically, we have a predefined model that we have developed, and we continuously collect data from the conventional devices, and we match it to our algorithms on a regular basis. And just to add over here, we are also one of the top 100 startups when it comes to the IDFC Leap to Unicorn that was recently organized by Money Control.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavesh. Any other questions? All right, so we have one question.
you yourself have mentioned that it's under clinical trials. I have seen startup which have got the US FDA certification also. One problem is that you are holding it on a stand. It needs at least 30 seconds. The best startup that I have seen,
Yes.
30 seconds selfie without slightly moving hand also. Then only you get the right this thing.
Yes.
Any further advancement or not? Because then the other part of the story is it doesn't work until unless a certain amount of light is there on your face.
Yes.
So are
So,
you trying to solve
yes.
this problem?
So we have solved that, addressed that problem as well, because now this technology works on most of the mobile phones that are currently available in the market. That is one thing. And then you are right that it takes much more time to extract multiple health vitals. So our scan is about 60 seconds. That is about a minute. And even though we managed to get the heart rate, respiration rate, blood pressure within 40 seconds, but to get all the bloodless blood tests, we need a minimum of 60 seconds. Yes. So we have deployed to one of the biggest hospital groups in the Philippines, which is the St. Luke's Hospital. In India, we have not yet deployed anywhere in any medical institutions. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So we have one more presenter in the first half of the session today. So before inviting them, if I may ask from all of you present today here, how many of you have actually used an app, a very popular app, in fact, an app called Paytm? Can you raise your hands? All right. Awesome. I believe all of us has used. Is there anyone who has not used Paytm? The reason why I'm mentioning Paytm is because we have one gentleman here. So the reason why I mentioned Paytm because it's one of the most popular apps, Indian apps, right? So the next startup that I'm inviting on the stage has downloads of more than Paytm actually. So this was a little surprising for me. Then I did my own cross check and realized they have, as we speak, they have a download of 567 million users, active users, right? They are working on the talk of the town technology, generative AI, LLM. We have these speakers with us today. The name of the startup is Appy High. They look sober though, but yes, we have Akshit, Venus, and Anish from Appy High, right? So I've set up the stage. All of us present here have pretty high hopes now from Appy High, right? So they're working on a model generative AI, powered by generative AI, and they have lots of products. They are also working for the insurance sector now. I'll let you speak now on Appy High. Can we have the slide now, please? We have Akshit and Anish, right? Appy High, photo.ai. The name of the product is photo.ai. Please. So you have 3 minutes. Right? How many downloads did we see?
567. We need to check.
You are India's top, world's top 10, right?
India's top 10. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Anish, co-founder of Appy High. I look after technology and product development. Our journey began in 2018 with a clear purpose that the true potential of AI lies in its application in everyday use, right? So with the 80-member team, we started building apps in utility and entertainment space. And why apps? Because that's the first digital touch point any digital user will have, right? Mobile users, everyone has a mobile. So we started this in the last 4 years. We have achieved remarkable success in launching 20 plus apps, which got us 567 downloads, as Naman was mentioning. This got us in the top 10 publishers in India in the leagues of Paytm, Jio, and others. And we are the only bootstrap company in those lists. Our why has always been very clear, that we wanted to build products, AI, and reach to the masses. We have got a couple of apps, like for example, we have ScannerGo, where we process documents, we digitize them, we categorize them, we extract text, and there are a lot of use cases that these AI tools and technologies that we built for for the apps are also used for other B2B industries, which Akshit will take care of.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, NASSCOM, for the opportunity also. Because there are a lot of products in the portfolio of AppyHi, so rather than going through product by product, we'll quickly walk you through the problems that we are tackling. The problems, basically the AI stack that we are working on, basically, right? So we'll start with computer vision. What problems are we solving with computer vision stack today, right? So starting with classification, image classification is something that we already have in a lot of our applications. You use our product called Scanner Go, which is a document scanning app. You don't need to, or you can use it for any other official documents also, invoices also, receipts also, right? Biomedical images also. Our image classification is fine-tuned to an extent that the accuracy is at a level. So if you use Scanner Go, you just open the camera. You don't need to click a picture of the document. Our model will automatically identify the document in the frame. It will automatically click the picture, segment out the document, and will do rest of the analysis basis the OCR, right? And our models run on edge, especially the segmentation and the classification models. So for your use case, if you want to use our stack, and if you're not comfortable sending your data to the cloud, or you do not want to use the APIs, you can use our models and run those models on the user's device or on your device itself. You don't need to send that data to the cloud. So our models are very much quantized and they are fine-tuned for a specific use case. The second is the image segmentation. Yeah. So image segmentation is, again, you can do that for documents also, biomedical images also, if you want to extract any pattern, infection from an X-ray or anything, right? So yeah, image clustering is something that we use a lot to identify the duplicate images or duplicate documents. So I was having a conversation with someone here, and we were discussing a use case where we would want to detect the duplicate bills or duplicate receipts, right? So image clustering and reverse image, with basically what we are doing is we are trying to figure out the similarity in the semantic context of two images, how similar those two images are, right? So you can use that to figure out a lot of such use cases for other images.
Let's see if we have some interest or in
You
any
guys have
question.
more questions? We have our
Right. So
stall over
they are there over there, right? All right. Thank you, team AppyHi.
Thank you.
Doing great job. Probably you will get few more downloads after this pitch. All right. So with this, we move to our next session. All right. Maybe please invite Sujata. Okay. So can we have Sujata on the stage, please? So there are more startups lined up. The response, so they are pretty excited. So we'll entertain them in the second half. We'll have them in the second half. So we have 6 more startups lined up for the day, 7 in fact.
Thank you, Naman. It was rather a very exciting session. I hope you also enjoyed it as much. Now we move on to the next segment of our session today. And please join me in welcoming our esteemed panel for the discussion on the role of innovation in strengthening cybersecurity and digital supervision in BFSI. I'd like to invite our first panelist for this session, Mr. Rakesh Asthana. May I request you, sir, to join us on stage? You're already familiar. Welcome, Mr. Rakesh. Next, we have with us Mr. Anand Tapikar. Mr. Anand comes with 20 years of extensive work experience in cybersecurity area. He is currently the Director of Cybersecurity, GE Healthcare. Welcome, Mr. Anand. Our next panelist is a prominent industry leader in cybersecurity in India, with 30 years of experience in risk management, mainly in the banking and telecommunication sectors. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Bharat Panchal. He is the Chief Regulatory Officer, Discover Financial Services. Welcome, Dr. Panchal. May I also request esteemed panel members to have a seat according to the so much. Moving on, we have our next speaker, Mr. Tarun Vig. He's a self-made entrepreneur and business executive with a decade-long outstanding track record in growing and leading high-performing startups in India. He's the co-founder of NSU Labs, a research-oriented group using AI and ML for national and cybersecurity. Welcome, Mr. Tarun. Please join us. Our next panelist is also an entrepreneur, Mr. Trishneet Arora. He started his journey in 2013 at the age of 19. He's the founder and CEO of Tax Security, a San Francisco-based cybersecurity risk and vulnerability management company. Mr. Tarun, please join us. Sorry, Mr. Trishneet, please join us. I would now like to hand over the discussion to Mr. Rakesh Asthana to take it forward. Thank you.
Morning, everyone, and sorry for the delay because of the traffic. Analysts could not arrive in time, so we had to reschedule these sessions. Now, this particular discussion is with regard to digital supervision and cybersecurity innovations in BFSI sector. I'll begin with a personal experience, which will give you an insight about the security threat which we face while dealing with the data and biometrics. I was DG BSF and had gone to Kutch along with the senior officials for some work. While returning, I had to catch a flight from Ahmedabad. The moment I boarded the flight and flight started moving, I got 3-4 messages quickly on my mobile phone that your biometric has been authenticated and this much amount of money has been approved to be deducted from your account. I got surprised because I had not done that. I checked up with my wife whether she has used something, my Aadhaar card or something like that. She said no. By the time flight was taking off, Mr. Panchal and block my account, card rather. It was done. So by the time I landed at the airport in Delhi, I could see that I am less by 40,000. 40,000 is a very small amount for us, but for a poor man, it is a very big amount. Being a police officer, I thought that I should definitely look into it. Who has the guts to defraud me? It was a challenge for me. So I have an officer who is very good at cybersecurity and investigation. So I asked him to get into it because I was not dealing with the regular police. So we got onto the job, and finally we could locate a gang in Gorakhpur, Jamtada, and a place in Palamu district in Jharkhand. That's all right. The offense was registered. Some 40-50 people were arrested. Mobiles were seized. Large number of laptops, printers, everything was seized. And the case was detected. I got my money back from the bank because it was not my fault, and bank refunded the money. As a police officer, my inquisitiveness was to find out what was there, how my biometrics were stolen. You will be amazed to know that few months, I was about to retire, so I thought my papers are being prepared in BSF and they have taken the fingerprints for my pension papers and all. So that might have been leaked, but that was not so. What they had done, they had gone to the registry office. I had purchased a flat few months back. I did a registry, so they secured my fingerprint impressions from there. They transferred it in onto a butterscotch paper, took a very high definition photograph, and we have this system of bank buddies and all with POS machines. They just put that high definition picture on the screen and it got authenticated. So it was a very unique thing for me because that time this battle of Aadhaar card was going on in the Supreme Court. It was very sensitive thing. So anyhow, we solved the case. But what I want to tell you here is that the more the technology you use, the more the dangers are to misuse it. So being the leaders in the technology, it is our duty to be a step ahead from the fraudsters. Now this industry, BFSI, is a thriving industry now. It has been growing very fast, mainly because of the rise in per capita income, technological innovations, and improved and integrated supply chain system. With this advancement in technology comes the other side of the coin, that is the breach in the security system. The data which you are going to use, it's a big data. It's a personal data. And if it is breached, it can create havoc. We are talking about the AI. Few days back, I got a video on my WhatsApp which mentioned how by using the AI, your child photograph can be misused for committing frauds, or for it can be used for exploiting the child sexually also online. So it's a very dangerous sector. AI is a very good technology and the financial sector is using it in a big way. Big data analytics is there. So many things you can do with this technology and your sector can grow leaps and bounds. But when it is breached, how to tackle it? So again, the technology comes into play. So in this panel discussion, basically we deal with the cyber attacks on security system and how to mitigate it. We in the business sector, we all know that the government and the regulatory bodies have come up various policies, various directions. One of them is policy pertaining to information and cybersecurity, ICSP you call it. It is a very robust system and its implementation may mitigate this type of threat to a great extent. Another aspect is cyber awareness. You create awareness amongst the employees, the third-party service providers, the contractors, so that it can be prevented. And through this policy, the key areas of focus is data leakage protection and technology risk assessment. This will lead to regulatory compliance, fraud prevention and detection, and operational efficiency. So within this framework, this panel discussion will move, and basically we'll be discussing the cutting edge solutions to these problems, forming up of strategies to deal with the situation, and also the best practices in the industry. Our panelists today are Mr. Bharat Panchal. He is the Chief Regulatory Officer, Discover Financial Services. Tarun Vig, co-founder NFU Labs. Trishni Taroda, founder and CEO Tax Security. And Anand Tapikar, Director of Cybersecurity, GE Healthcare. Before we move forward, I'll request all the panelists one by one to please introduce themselves. Then we will further discuss on the topics. Please, Bharat.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for very setting the right context. My name is Bharat Panchal. I work with Discover, but my famous role was one of the co-founder of NPCI, and I was Chief Risk Officer of National Payment Corporation of India, and that's where the UPI is born. So that's something great contribution to the nation.
Tarun, sorry, please carry on.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Anand Tapikar, and I am a director of cybersecurity in GE Healthcare. In this panel, I would like to learn and share my thoughts on defense and protection strategies. What Mr. Asthana has described as very scary, and I agree. The mistakes are very costly in this field, and we all need to be vigilant in this field. And whatever I could share, I would like to share this. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Trishni Daroda, founder and CEO of Tax Security, a vulnerability management company, homegrown in India, moved global a couple of years back. As Bharat sir has said, mentioned about UPI, so we are one of the company protecting UPI application that anybody is using here from many years now. So yes, that's what we do.
Hi everyone, good morning. So I am Tarun, I'm a co-founder of NFU. We use artificial intelligence and machine learning for national security. If you know about NIC, National Informatics Center, which provides email to Government of India, to every employee in Government of India, the cybersecurity of that platform is our solution. Our solutions are also running in ICICI Bank for loan fraud analytics and in multiple law enforcement agencies for investigation and financial fraud investigation purposes.
Okay. Now, since you have heard the panelists introducing themselves, we'll move forward. We have divided this discussion into 7 parts. Key areas which requires attention and discussion with regard to the cybersecurity and threat and the innovations to deal with them. First area is to deal with the emerging technologies which we are using in the BFSI sector. It is artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, big data analytics, and blockchain. Mostly these technologies are being used. So we should know from the panelists that how these advanced technologies are working in the BFSI sector. And I'll request Tarun to start with the discussion on this.
Thank you so much, sir. So from our experience, BFSI sector and law enforcement, they go pretty much hand in hand. They have a lot of data. When we talk about bank, any bank for that matter, even a cooperative bank, right? You have data in terms of millions of transactions every day. You have data for loans, you have data for credit cards, debit cards, and all these databases are lying in silos. I believe SBI is one of the first banks in the country to go for a data lake, to actually implement what we call an intelligence fusion center, where you bring all your data from different databases into one big data repository, you correlate everything, and you get a 360-degree profile of every customer at a click of a button. At this point of time, what is happening is all these banks, they have different departments. Every department is maintaining its own database in silos. So when they want to profile a customer, they are only dependent upon one particular database. They are not looking at the overall transactions, overall data pertaining to that customer in every other database. So big data analytics has come into vogue. Banking industry is embracing it. When we talk about artificial intelligence, essentially everybody here knows that AI is nothing but a mathematical model. It's a play of numbers, right? Essentially what you need to do is you need to get all your data into one place. You need to convert it into some sort of a mechanism to make it statistical and then run the AI model from that. Banks like ICICI Bank are already using artificial intelligence for loan fraud analytics. So today, as an individual, if I apply for a loan to ICICI Bank, it actually goes through an automated mechanism where the system gives you a threat alert, whether this individual should be given a loan or not. And last but not the least, these three, I'm only talking about the projects that we have personally been involved in. I would let the rest of the panel discuss their experiences. But last but not the least, AI is being used extensively for NPAs, for early warning system for a non-performing asset. NPAs at one point of time were a big problem area for the banks in India. Today, with artificial intelligence, with the capacity to process so much of data quickly, we are in a position to implement early warning systems, which can actually give you an advance warning, whether the loan that you have given to a particular corporate, whether that loan will be returned or it will perform or it will become a non-performing asset. So these are the three areas that banking industry has been using, at least from my experience, that they have been using AI and big data analytics extensively. I would let the rest of the panel share their experiences.
Rashneet, you can comment on the this aspect of use of technology, modern technology in BFSI, and what is its effect on the operational efficiency of the sector?
Of course. Before I begin about the BFSI sector, cybersecurity need in the BFSI sector, I would like to add, I've also how we have seen Appy High pitch today. I've done a lot of pitch in the past, never got a funding or never got a customer. I think that's the reason that I'm sitting here. So, but you never know when you become so big, and when Appy High becomes Microsoft of photo AI. So, and we are all looking to get hired there. So never throw them like that way that we did. It's not a wise thing. We're not with Appy High, but with any of the startup, because startup is the backbone of India, not the large industries anymore, right? SMEs, MSMEs are the backbone, which really generates a large employment. So we should, it's not about tax security, it's about any startup. So we should handle them with care and respect. Any of them can become Google of India or Microsoft of India. So coming on this, on cybersecurity need in BFSI, cybersecurity is a very broader term to be described, but any digitalization is the center point of digitalization is cybersecurity, right? So you can build anything on digitalization, be it BFSI or be it technology, anything. The cybersecurity is needed, right? It's unsaid thing. And best part about the cybersecurity in India, the largely is used by the government or by the BFSI, right? Why? Because there is a regulatory involved. If there is no regulatory involved, nobody would even though care about cybersecurity also. It's a good thing. That's why we also exist. That's why the cybersecurity in India exists, right? SaaS is a software as a service, security as a service. There is also CAS, compliance as a service, right?
We'll come to that regulatory aspect and supervision.
Sure.
In our second section of that, which I'm going to take up. Second is this challenges and opportunities in digital supervision. Now the financial services are moving to the digital platform, and simultaneously the regulatory authorities are also imposing a lot of restrictions and supervision over it. They also face a lot of challenges. So, Anand, can you throw some light on that with regard to the regulatory authorities and their how do they synchronize and counter the threats?
Sure. So security, as is describing, that security has multiple facets now. So one, if you ask a person, his understanding of security is very different. For one guy, it's a compliance. For other guy, it's a regulation. The third guy, it could be a secure coding or how to build a secure application. The fourth guy, it could be a privacy. I mean, I think there are 8, 10 such different streams in the security. But in this question, what you are asking about the regulatory aspects of a security, it is becoming very important. So I worked in BFSI earlier, but I come from healthcare industry right now. And in the healthcare industry, there are multiple regulations. You must have heard of a HIPAA regulation. You must have heard of FDA 510K regulations. And there are many GDPR in India also. We are coming PDP and many other things. So there are regulatory framework available for every industry. For financial, we have a PCI DSS and many other regulation, RBI framework. So in this regulatory framework, that is what I describe is a very, very important to comply with, but that is the first step. What sir has described initially, the example of a data breach, of biometric and other things, that are the very, very scary things. Just by complying the regulatory standard will not be enough. You have to do a much, much more than that. And that regulatory sensitive data or non-sensitive data, there are regulations, that there are mechanisms available now to protect it. So I just like to.
Okay, thank you. Now this cyber security and its threat landscape is quite wide. A lot of things can be used to put the cyber space under threat. But so far as BFSIs are concerned, mostly we come across ransomware attacks, data breaches, insider threats, and social engineering. Now, how innovation can be leveraged to proactively detect and respond to these threats, especially with reference to the inside? Bharat, I'd like you to throw some light on it.
Thank you, sir. So the BFSI sector, especially in last 15, 20 years, the largest innovation what we have seen, that is into this particular sector. And the way we are enjoying today, the digital movement, be it banking, be it in a supply chain, be it healthcare, or be it any other area. You know what? We have gone a lot along with the technology innovation. And technology has become so much so dynamic, and there is no harm to adopt the technology as and when new things come. But the delta between the technology innovation and the uses, there was one part which was missed out, how it is going to impact to the end user. When technology is used in right way, then it's fine. But when such innovation is used in wrong way, like the people sitting in this room are having very, very positive innovation for betterment of the society. But at the same time, what sir described about the innovation of Jamtara gang, which gave me at least 2 sleepless nights to figure it out, that who did this particular scam with sir, right? And that they are also doing innovation. They have their own school, they have their own courses. Now they have gone much ahead, and they have started online courses. I'm talking about the Jamtara gang. So with all these things, we haven't thought about the security when we started way back in 2000. And what is the best example about security? Let me tell you about the IT Act 2000. Everybody must have heard about this particular act. It does not talk about the cybercrime. There is no word even that. Today, entire our life is fully dependent on internet, and because of that, so much of cybersecurity threat have arisen. Now, I have led the biggest of the biggest data breach in country, like you must have heard about the Cosmos Bank and Hitachi payment system and many more. What were the common point into that? It was not that they were not having tool, they were not having technology, they were not having the adequate manpower. Everything was there, but it was a sense of alert that what can go wrong with the new age technology when you are deploying into the new surface. When it comes to the kind of cyber security landscape today, the cyberspace every day get 1 million new malware, new Trojan, no virus every day, which is impossible for anybody to identify whether the newborn babies are there in the market. And even if you identified, there's no vaccination. How are you going to protect that? That is where the innovation is needed. Now, look at, let me give an example of my favorite. So UPI, when we started, there were 100 to 1,000 transactions. Now it has gone to billion. How are we going to manage the kind of, the security challenges with this number of transactions? And we must be aware about that. There is no benchmark of what India is doing today, nowhere in the world. Be it product, be it value, be it volume. And in that challenging area, how are you going to manage cybersecurity? That's where innovation has played very, very significant role in terms of using AI, using the innovative model where the transaction is completed in 200 seconds, 200 milliseconds, sorry. In 200 milliseconds, you have to see the transaction. You have to find out whether the transaction is genuine or fraudulent or suspicious. Accordingly, you have to alert to the bank proactively that this transaction has to be declined. This is just impossible task for manual process, and that's where innovation has played major role. But what is unique for our country, and that's always I keep on urging to the startup. I happen to be one of the co-founder of the most successful startup of India, that is NPCI, and it has changed the landscape of the way we are doing banking today. But your innovation should keep not only India in mind, please, not the India what being talked in political arena today, but India where only 20% people of us are living. We should think about Bharat, where 80% of people are also, they are not tax heavy, they are not having any...
Bharat, I will cut short
Sure, sir.
this thing because we are running short of time. Innovation is the key word.
Yes.
We all know. So innovation is must for data privacy and data protection both, because that is very sacrosanct. And in this area, innovation has to be very forthcoming and useful. I'll ask Trishneet, because this customer trust is paramount in BFSI sector. Unless you earn the trust of the customer, you cannot progress. And for earning the trust, you'll have to tell the customer that your data is protected. Trishneet, how are the BFSI organizations using encryption and biometrics to safeguard sensitive customer data? I just mentioned about the biometrics, so that is very relevant. So please throw some light on that.
I will not tell you how they're using it. Then Jamtara will find out the way to breach that also. So because it's confidential and cybersecurity is, it's a confidential word itself, right? So, but I would definitely tell, as Bharat has already mentioned about the innovation UPI, right? So UPI is the itself, speaks itself about the BFSI, about the country, right? It's a future of the payment worldwide, not in India, but worldwide, right? So it's not limited to biometric, or it's not limited to data privacy, right? As Anand has already mentioned, for somebody it's a secure code, somebody it's a privacy, right? Somebody it's a compliance, right? But end of the day, what we are trying to do is make the transaction safe in the BFSI. That's the end goal, right? And the customer data safe so that they can't use it adversely. So there are a lot of measures being taken care by the bank, right? One of the large bank in India, I think their cybersecurity budget is as equivalent to the IT budget, right? So, but still, if you ask me, are they 100% secure? I would say that they are 1% secure. Why? Because 99% it's all over the attacks which will take the place, right? We should appreciate what NSA, Mr. Dewal has recently said at the BRICS is, we should lead as a country, as India, on the cybersecurity front and talk cybersecurity separately from the BRICS, right? So just, I'll take 1 minute on this, right? So Australia has a cybersecurity ministry itself. Singapore has it, right? I think it's the right time for India to have a separate ministry on cybersecurity.
because that's the real thing for us to take it forward. Yeah, sir, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, with this, we move ahead to the point of collaboration. We cannot work in isolation. No industry can survive or progress in isolation. Similarly, so far as this particular topic is concerned, the BFSIs have to collaborate with various other financial institutions, technology providers, and regulatory bodies in fostering a collective defense against this threat. I request Mr. Anand to kindly enlighten us as to why this collaboration is essential for a robust cybersecurity framework, and some examples if you can share on this count.
Sure, thank you. So I remember, I will not take a name, but the largest retail supermarket in US got attacked, and the threat vector was found in one of the AC vendor who has installed there, and because of that, the whole network of that particular supermarket got hacked completely, and the data got stolen of millions of customers. So what is important here is securing the value chain or ecosystem here. So if you are doing a business with the or banking, banks is not alone, right? You can protect the banks, you know the application you can protect, but you may be talking to the 10 different vendors, and those vendors may be talking to 10 different other vendors. So it's a whole chain which needs to be secured. Then only the security can be achieved. It's not necessary that they are connected to the network of the bank or any other institute. They may be providing a data, they may be using the data, or they may be processing the data. That's why if you see nowadays regulations which are coming up, we talk about the GDPR, talk about the HIPAA, talk about the FDA compliance, they all talk about that how do you make sure that all the points wherever the information assets are available, including the vendors, including the even if there is a large customer where you are dealing with, those every places you need to have that security in place. So it's actually the terminology which is used a little technical is called SBOM technology, SBOM based, software bill of material based. So every vendor, whosoever is supplying to that data to you, you need to ask for the SBOM. And those using that SBOM, you yourself needs to build some kind of mechanism to check the vulnerability against it and make sure that those vendors held accountable for those vulnerability. It is a very, very risky thing because for the customers, and it can happen to Mr. Asthana, it can happen to any one of us. And the banking industry is most susceptible to this kind of attack, and it's very visible. In the healthcare industry also, there are attacks, but they are not so much visible. But in this case, they are very, very visible, and it impacts the person. So I feel the value chain needs to be completely secured.
Sir, if I may add one
Yes,
thing
please.
on the collaboration part. See, earlier days when I'm talking about 2000 and before that, we used to do banking. So bank, your customer, your CBS, your ATM and your branch, it was completely closed loop. Today we are in the interoperable world. It is not only banking, but your money is going to insurance, and insurance is going into the stock market. Now, what is the biggest threat today in banking sector? It's not about the vulnerability in the banking application itself, but the guy who is getting the SIM card with a fake document and registering as a registered mobile number with CBS. How that coordination is bringing down the all innovation in one particular sector, and because of the lethargy to other sectors. So that's where the coordination is very, very important. And when data breach or any fraud or a cyber attack happen, it is not only on your bank or only on your organization. It is to across industry, and there is a serious domino impact because of something. So that's where collaboration brings a lot of value in today's cyber attack area.
So we have to fight it out collectively. That is the essence of it. Moving forward, what is the future of digital supervision, what we foresee. On this, I like Tarun to throw some light with regard to the technological innovations which you foresee and what should be done further.
Sir, I've always believed that we should learn from history. Now, if we look at the past few attacks which have taken place in the country, which we are all aware of, the AIMS attack, it was in the headlines, the HDFC data breach for loan, people who had taken loans from HDFC, that is all over the dark web. The solar wind attack, where Indian Army's critical data got leaked. Now, there are 2 points. If you look at all the commonality in those all 3 attacks, one, the response has been very slow. It took us 2.5 to 3 weeks to recover from the AIMS attack, to recover the entire assets which had been encrypted using ransomware. It took us 2.5, 3 weeks to recover that data or find out a solution to it. Right. The other, there was no impact analysis. The organization themselves had no idea that, okay, the server got breached. What is the actual impact analysis? It was only when all that data went onto dark web and everybody started creating a hue and cry about it, did organizations wake up and say, okay, we've lost so much of data. There was no impact analysis. From my thought process, there are 2 things which are going to come into vogue in the BFSI sector, which has to come into vogue. One, a forensics desk in every bank. If you look at countries like Saudi Arabia has made it mandatory that every bank in the country will have to have a necessary forensic desk. So in case a breach happens, you immediately you do a DFIR, digital forensic incident response, you do cyber triaging, figure out how the attack took place and cut off all necessary assets where the same attack vector is shown. So we believe that a forensic desk will become mandatory in every bank in the BFSI sector. And one very critical piece of technology, which is, not a lot of organizations in the country are using it, data discovery. Today your data is in, AWS servers. You have data in maybe Azure cloud, in your own servers, in your own laptops. But you do not have a mechanism to figure out what data is lying where and what is the criticality of that data. So data discovery as a software has to become a necessity, where as an organization, at any point of time what data is lying where, what is the classification of that data, and if that particular asset gets breached, what is the impact that can take place. The same softwares are being used for compliance also. These 2 technologies are already getting used across the world. So we believe that in India, we'll probably wake up and start using the same technology sooner rather than later.
That's good. And finally, we come to the part of how to balance the innovation and security. Anything which we do in extreme is not productive. So there should be a fine balance between the innovation and the security. I like Anand to comment on it, and thereafter Bharat to pitch in on this.
As we are actually talking to startup community more here, so innovation is the key, and innovation. I always say that cybersecurity should not be the hindering factor for innovation at all. It should be enabler for any kind of business. So if we are doing the things in the cybersecurity which is hindering some very important business functionality, then something is wrong somewhere. That needs to be balanced it out. And for that, I'll take one simple example, which I give generally in panel discussion, is that when we go into the airline and we go and we just generally sleep, we don't care about that how the plane is flying, how the speed is, what is the mechanism of a motor. I don't care for anything else. So cybersecurity should become that seamless, integrated into the product. And the product, when the product is getting designed, it should follow the methodology of SD3, what we call it, secure in design, secure in development, and secure in deploy. So digital monitoring also comes in the secure and deploy. So that everything is taken care with the product delivery. It should not be afterthought. It should not be abandoned. Then only the innovation and security can go together. Thank you.
Anand, that is what exactly we, at least I have personally experienced when you see any of the product in banking today, be it, right from UPI to IMPS to RuPay or FASTag or anything. What was the key ingredient of security was security by design. Security, quality, and compliance cannot be an afterthought. It has to be inculcated right from the day when you think about the product. And that is what exactly, I have personally seen in my career. But, in today's era, I mean, when, sorry to, not to target startup, but the don't target to a startup valuation than startup innovation. Because when you are running for startup, valuation, that's where the biggest problem is coming. Innovation is welcome, innovation is necessary, but not at the cost of security for whatever you are doing. I think that is where the balance is very much important to have.
Thank you. And Trishneet, you like to butt in with your...
So yeah, startups has to, you correctly said, startup has to focus on value, not valuation, right? It's very important what Anand has said to look into it, that everything is in innovation or technology. Cybersecurity should not be a showstopper. It should be an enabler. That is very much said, right? But we also have to look into cybersecurity as a need, not as a as a as a threat, right? We look at cybersecurity as a threat. Today, if you ask sir, in innovation, is if a CIO asks money for innovation from a CFO, there is definitely a value add to it. But if a CISO asks money to protect that innovation, there is no budget for it, right? So there is a need of shift of a mindset, right? And build a right ecosystem. Right ecosystem can be built when there is a proper understanding of the landscape of cybersecurity not for a CFO, but also at the board level also. So that is only possible by quantifying the risk, the language that board understand, which is a dollar value, right? So if the board understand dollar value of a risk, then I think they would wisely invest also, right? And they will also understand how much they have invested, how much dollar they have saved against that innovation, right? So innovation and cybersecurity is a parallel job, right? It's not a threat. Cybersecurity is not a threat to innovation. It should be enabler, as correctly Anand has said, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We have almost overshot the time which has been given to you. I'll just sum up what we had discussed. Now, you see, innovation is must. We should not avoid it, and it is must, mandatory for all of us to survive and grow, particularly in this sector of BFSI. But as the panelist has said, security should be embedded in the innovation. We should not avoid it. I'll end up by saying that when I joined the service, initial periods of my service, whenever we used to advise any industry people with regard to the security, which Trishneet has said, the same thing they used to say, sir, investment in security is not productive. We don't get any returns out of it. That is the mindset which we are working with. We should avoid that, because once the breach is there, then you can imagine what type of havoc can be created in your sector by this cyber breach. So please ensure that. And I'll end up by saying, initially, we used to say that time is money. But now, data is money. Please preserve it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can discuss with us outside subsequently. I'm sorry we ran out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks a lot. I'll invite Mr. Nitin Agarwal and Anuj Gulati to come on the stage and give them a token of appreciation. Please. And finally, a group photo, please. For everyone on the stage, please stand for a group photo. Asthana ji, एक group photo हो जाए. A group photo, please. Meanwhile, let me introduce CoE, the tongue twister that I gave you earlier. We do a lot of co-creation. The co-creation is the magic which can come out from when enterprises talk to startups. We have done a lot of them, in fact, more than 400 of them in our kitty in the last 7 years. We also, from time to time, in order to give those success stories to the other enterprises than the startups, we give them an award. Thank you very much for all the panelists and the moderator, Mr. Asthana. I'd like to invite Sanjeev. Sanjeev, please come and facilitate the use cases that we have been able to get some successes with the enterprise and the startups. Sanjeev, please come on the stage. I will request all the enterprises and the startups to come quickly. We are running a little short of time, so let's see how fast you can come onto the stage. Thank you.
All right. Very interesting segment, guys. I mean, this is the result of the effort that has been put over months. This is what we actually do to make some of these solutions that are done by some of these innovative startups that you have been that you saw this morning, and we'll continue to see more of these. And people spread all over the country. There is a great amount of work, good work happening. I think a lot of us even don't know about it. And how do we actually make it more productive by having them work together is the key. So, so I think next segment we will be focusing on and actually celebrating the work that has been put by both by enterprises as well as by the startups. With that, I would like to invite Selena. She's the innovation leader from Baxter, and Baxter is a company, who's one of the big, large companies based in the US, working in the areas of many different areas in the renal innovation as well as many other areas of medical technology. I will also like to invite Neveda Ramkumar, director from Algorix. Difficult tongue twister for us. They are actually the startup who have been working with them on a solution which actually made a lot of impact. Come, Naman. Come. Big hand for them. So Selena, do you want to quickly cover the use case? Just talk about what the use case is, Yeah, please take the microphone.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, NASSCOM. This is a privilege and an honor, and glad to be here and enabling Baxter in its vision for connected care. And happy to partner with Algorix. So NASSCOM had enabled us to partner with Algorix in a span of 8 to 10 days, where we were able to shortlist from 20 startups to one startup and then partner with them. And then our results of coming up with an analytical dashboard for one of our main product lines was done in 8 to 10 weeks, which is amazing. Yeah. So their expertise in drug coding and Baxter's expertise in workflows and systems helped us to achieve this in such a short span of time in a time-effective and cost-effective manner. Yeah, and this also involved global collaboration between US and India as well. Yeah, so it's a lot of work, a lot of people collaborating together, and thanks for all the support that you have given Baxter.
Big hands for them. Maybe take a seat. I think we have a memento for you, and we'll give it to all together so that we can all have everybody in the group. So please be seated while others are coming. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Adidev Katiyar from Yokogawa, and also Puneet Badrinath, founder of Fabric, to join on the stage, please. So Adi, you want to talk quickly on the use case? Yeah, please take the microphone, and you must want to share what is the problem statement that you have been working on.
Okay, I'm representing Yokogawa here. Thank you so much. For those of you who don't know Yokogawa, basically we are in process automation domain, and our major industry vertical is oil and gas, right? Nevertheless, we have been working in different domains as well, be it bio, life sciences, renewables. Our current marketing short-term perspective is autonomy, from automation to autonomy, right? And this involves all the new technologies what we have been talking about, like AI, ML, AR, VR, so XR or metaverse. So that's where we hit upon my dear friend Puneet, and it was wonderful collaborating because a person cannot just build up everything on its own and serve the customers. So that's where his expertise comes into picture, which they are doing it quite long time. We have taken this solution, right? So that was the first aspect, which was our collaboration. It went very nice. And sorry for torturing you with all our domain things. He was very patient listening to us, and we could build up that solution actually. And the second part is we are utmost focusing on strengthening this ecosystem. And that was wonderful, Puneet. Thank you.
Great. So for those you may not know, Yokogawa is one of the Japanese large companies working on multiple areas. And sometimes they talk about the problem statements. I have difficulty understanding. They say that you want to produce energy from algae. You know, I mean, I've never heard this kind of a thing before. So thank you so much for, pushing us and we taking our boundaries, much wider and deeper. All right, please be seated. Next, I'd like to invite Shilpa Nayak from Nataxis and Utsav Mathur from Geometry. Nataxis, those who may not know, is a large French bank with large operation in both of you. So Shilpa has been a pretty active player in the innovation ecosystem, and had a pleasure of working with the French bank, who again have been thinking, as you say, outside the box. And you need people like Shilpa to drive these things, to the level where they have worked on some great solution, which I'll want you to talk about. So please take the microphone. And
thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, NASSCOM, for actually aiding innovation managers like us to really bring world-class solutions from India, to be scaled up to, global users as well. So one of the use cases that we have been working on is virtual reality, metaverse, onboarding for our employees. NatAccess is a new setup, as you all know. We just started our operations in India 2 years ago. We all were onboarded virtually during COVID. So none of us actually had the chance to interact with each other. So that was the genesis of this use case. And considering that we are a new setup working with our nearshore centers in Hong Kong, Singapore, Paris, and Amer, it becomes super important for us to have a little bit more understanding of the organizational culture, which may or may not really reflect very well when you're only conversing through your Teams channel or any kind of regular traditional channels of communication. This is where I think how can we give our new employees an experience of having insight of how the NatAccess culture is, how is it to live in a day as a banker within the banking world. So this was the use case, and this was just an idea. What I really liked about the geometry solution is, they really gave a form to the idea, right? Because the kind of solution that they have is quite mature. It doesn't look like your typical, when I say, virtual world, I have seen a lot of solutions out there, which pretty much comes out as a Cartoon Network channel, right? Because we are a serious French bank. I don't want a cartoon avatar of myself. I would very well like a realistic avatar, and at the same time, really not dumb down the metaverse experience for our, on new employees. So that is where I think the geometry solution was super interesting. And I think it has a very likable form, which looks quite professional. It doesn't look cartoon channel. So thank you, Geometry. I think wonderful platform, and look forward to scaling the solution and really taking this forward.
Looking forward. And a quick shout out to, if you don't mind, a quick shout out to NASSCOM as well. I think, you're seeing a lot of these innovative solutions coming out and startups to connect just because of the name that you give and the backing that you give. Without that, directly reaching out to startups is not always possible.
No, I think it's a win-win for everyone. I think I'd like to also
Yes.
call out my colleague Sushant, who's been at the forefront of it. Sushant, apna haath utha lo, people may want to reach out to you. He and his team have been working actively with all of you. So lastly, I would like to call Mr. Abhinav Singh from Jubilant Foodworks and Sanatanam from, I missed out a name here. Vero, okay. So, yeah. So first tell people about Jubilant Foodworks. What are the big names that you're operating? A lot of people may not even know that. Even I didn't know it till a year ago.
So it's the biggest QSR player in India, and we are operating with different big brands, including Domino's, Popeyes, Dunkin', Honk's Kitchen. Yeah, and this is for adopting AI-based digital procurement assistant. So to procure raw materials and for sourcing, we used to base our decisions on our internal ERP systems, and there were some external databases. So this was a very cumbersome exercise to derive insights through these isolated databases. It was basically subjective, and it was based on intuition. Now with this assistant, we have integrated all these databases, have also factored in macroeconomic conditions, which can impact the price fluctuations of the raw materials. So we can decide on when to source in the materials, at what time we should buy in, how much we should go for the forward buying. We have also factored in unstructured data, including news, which can influence the market movements, and also factored in the historical performance of our buyers, how they have performed. So with this, we have come up with a real-time information database and dashboards for different important matrices. And thanks to Bayer team and NASSCOM to bring them into the mix.
Great. So with that, I think we'd like to hand over the mementos. Dr. Rashmi Saluja, I'd like to invite you here on the stage to hand over the mementos for the excellent work. I just noticed a pattern. We had look at the spread of these companies. We have a US multinational in medical space. We have a we have a Japanese giant, who's into oil and gas and many other sectors. Then we have a French bank, and now we have an Indian company here, who's of course has got a lot of US linkages and all. But so look at the spread, and this is heartening to see the kind of thing, type of companies who are getting into it. So thanks to all the innovation managers who are here, in your work, and we look forward to doing more of it. Dr. Rashmi. So give it to him. Yeah, so one more. So we will probably yeah.
You can own
All right. Baxter and Algorithms. Baxter. Who did we miss out? Shilpa. So while I have Dr. Rashmi here, I will want to use some of your time just to chat a little bit with you, given that, you had one of the large financial services company of India, and had a pleasure of having you today. So I don't want to miss out this opportunity to spend a few minutes with you here on the stage. So please.
I've known Sanjeev for years and I really now know what he does. So it is, in fact, it's been a very interesting meeting, and with my company and NASSCOM, we have really enjoyed a fantastic couple of months, in fact, and understood that how we can actually do a better work in BFSI segment. So in BFSI, it is not only the business development that we're talking about, but more important also is to ensure the regulatory purposes and the regulatory framework is very well met with. Not possible to do it without technology. And that is what we have learned. And in spite of the fact that each of our company has its own technology wing and we are trying to be digital as possible, but much better is that we partner with organizations like NASSCOM and take full utilization to develop business and not duplicate the technology and actually scale it up from where all these intelligent and smart people are already working on. And that is how we got in touch and we wanted to do it up. The only difference in us and any other company which is going to be how well we are utilizing and participating in technology. So we want to not only be the consumer of technology, but we also want to invest in it and also to ensure that the technology is homegrown for companies like us. So that is also value for money for us.
So that's a very good thinking, but let me ask you in a little honest way, you to tell me, do you see some of the large companies, a lot of your company leaders, do you see startups as a threat or just an opportunity only? Do you think that they also become a threat because they're so fast and nimble and they're at the forefront of technology and they can churn out solutions like this while you have long decision making? I'm assuming you have. I mean, I have not. I don't know, but so what is the feeling inside your company? Do you really see that?
Both. So I'll be very honest, it's both. It is while we feel that we've been working and we've spent so much of time, money and energy for all these years we've been doing, and then all of a sudden a startup comes over, especially in the medical technology, and then he just shows one app and one screenshot and says that, okay, here it is. Forget about everything else that you've done. But how to utilize him and actually put it on to what we have already done and ensure that the platform is so robust and the strength and the credibility to his technology is going to be given by companies like us. So I'm happy, and also I know that this innovation can be added on by Religare and companies like us.
Okay, that's good. Let me ask you other thing on your personal challenge of you being, I have known you as a doctor all this while. How did it feel to be running a company of this size in a different space altogether? I believe they don't teach finance when you do MBBS, right?
No, not at all. So in fact, I'll tell you what, the technology in all the other spaces that we're talking about has been an innovation of last couple of years. But the only real-time technology that was in medical and the medicine. Unless and until I had the machines and the equipments and the labs and the radiology labs and all those things, that was for us was a real technology, and that is how the world actually caught on to. Now it has become digital in every space. Now you're eating a food and you know exactly what calorific values and how things are going to be and so on and so forth. Now it is next level technology in each and every field. So my knowledge of technology was there. They didn't teach us finance, but they really taught us how to differentiate between AI and RI. It is artificial intelligence and the real intelligence. But today I think so it is the same. Very difficult to understand whether it is AI or it is RI, because RI to be nowhere anymore. It is the artificial intelligence that's going to be. Whether it is in birthing, as simple, as basic, as natural as birthing, has got technology in it. So I'm a better doctor if I understand technology better. But today I'm a better investor if I understand technology better. I have an access to data. I've got access to understanding what is right and what is wrong and what is going to be scalability. The only different thing that is going to be, Sanjeev, is that how well I am ready to accept my brain should work as smartly as the technology is working.
That's pretty remarkable. I mean, I appreciate what you are doing in terms of, I mean, I would have difficulty doing that, having spent all my life in technology. There are a lot of new challenges that are coming in this field, in both in terms of how fintech is changing and the neobanks are coming, and the way you are steering the company in the direction. From my experience, most of the people who have been working with us have been overseas companies, as you just saw from the spread of the nations that we had here on the stage. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you and your team to have thought in that direction of being, moving ahead in the direction of technology, partnering with smaller companies. It's no ordinary thing to do and think like that, right? And some of the companies who are great companies across the world actually are great because they invest in innovation. It's not that they became great and then they started investing. So it's because they thought innovation from the day one, and that's why they are great. So congratulations on that. And I'll also like to open it up for audience also to ask any question. We don't have that many opportunities to meet leader like Dr. Rashmi. Mostly they're either in Bombay or doing their money counting somewhere else. So,
in fact, I have a question from Sanjeev, in fact, but also I want to tell you one thing. Religare has become Religare today after a couple of years of hard work. We've had a turnaround of Religare Enterprises, and we had a very difficult time. The only thing is that if we had an integral part of technology which actually ensures that the regulatory framework and the risk and the fraud understanding of it should make human beings make it very difficult to do anything wrong. And that is where, in fact, I feel is where we should be investing time, money, and energy in so much of good technology that it becomes impossible for us to do the wrong. And it is caught in the public eye how we do it. Sanjeev was in US. I wonder how it is for you to adapt yourself and to re-innovate and to do all this. How's it? Is it the culture different? Do you enjoy better?
Initially it was, but being in Bangalore, Bangalore is a culture which is, I would say, international culture. Bangalore is one of the unique cities in the country at this point where you don't, either everybody feels an outsider or nobody feels an outsider, right? This is really a melting point of the sort, right? People not just coming from different parts of the country, but also coming from different parts of the world. I mean, you will see some of you in your neighborhood, you will find people who are into different, coming from different parts of the world. So I think I would say it's not been that difficult. I think by being in Bangalore helped me.
That's amazing, in fact. And that is where, in fact, what I really feel and my expectation from these newer companies is that they become so good and so indigenous that we save on time, money, and energy, and we really, really help them grow, and them should help us grow.
All right, wonderful. I think given that we are running out of time, so we will not extend this thing more, but we have Dr. Rashmi with us for some more time during the day. I think we'll want to utilize this this day for more interactions. So if there's anything now, we can talk now, or we can push it to during our lunch discussions also.
In fact, happy to be participating the entire day. Some amazing technology startups, and we have our entire team, all 4 verticals, and their head and their technology head are here. Please feel free to participate in any which capacity. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Dr. Rashmi. So with that, I think we'll move to next session. But before that, I'll just quickly want to introduce one of our dear partners, who's come from Mumbai, Bhavesh from IDFC Bank. Please come on the stage quickly. I mean, since you came all the way from Mumbai, I do not want to miss this opportunity to have your mind into what banks of your scale are doing. You may want to give a 2-minute overview of your innovation initiative, because you are the leader there for the innovation.
Sure. Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you so much. Right. Thanks, Sanjeev. Thanks, Naman. Thanks, NASSCOM team for putting this together, and also the opportunity and partnering with us in promoting the innovation ecosystem. Guys, before I begin, I'll not take more than a couple of minutes. Can we have a big round of applause for the NASSCOM team for putting this together, please? Thank you. Means a lot. Thank you. So great. I'm really delighted to speak to you about IDFC's journey in adopting artificial intelligence and technology in per se, right? IDFC Bank is a digital-first bank, a challenger bank, right? Which rides on technology, which essentially focuses on use cases of technology, right? And AI being one of them. But before I go on to speak about IDFC's journey and various use cases that we dabble in, right? Let me tell you quickly about my own journey. And I'm kind of been a banker, went to technology as a seller of technology, and I've come back to banking now, right? So I understand, I've seen AI in particular from the time it kind of started, right? About 10 years back when I was with one of the global technology companies, right? And we were trying to put together use cases for artificial intelligence in particular, right? We reached out to multiple, obviously, financial services organizations and banks. And trust me, the way it works with commercial organizations, that it has to play either one of the 2 roles. One is either it has to bring in efficiency or experience, or improve experience, so to speak. We did a POC with a multinational bank, a subsidiary based out of Singapore, and the use case was very simple, right? The fact was that, I'll not take more than a minute. The fact was that we wanted to create essentially an advisory platform to advise wealth customers to remove individual biases there. Okay. And we figured very soon that the POC obviously bombed. We figured very soon that data is very important, because unless you have good data, AI does not mean anything to you, right? So with that, I mean, the one thing that I wanted to leave with all of you and the startups here who are actually making use cases, right, is to ensure the customers that you go to, right, that you educate them about having good data first, right? Otherwise, you will not get the results. So the basic, because data is all about 70% of AI that we're talking about, right? So thank you so much again. Thank you, the team. Right.
Thank you for a very short brief of yours. Now let me invite you for our next session. It's on advances in AI. The panel, if I can request the panel to come, Ms. Sridevi Vadapalli, please. She's a Deputy General Manager at Daimler Truck Innovation Center, India. Comes with a 20 years of experience of data science experience across retail, BFSI, automotive industries driving. Please come. Driving value through data science, AI, ML solutions. Please welcome. I'd like to also invite Deepika Sandeep, Honeywell Director, AI, ML. Subhashish Mishra, please. He's the Director for Data Science at Walmart Global Tech. Please come. Himanshu Parashar, Director Data Architecture and Operations WebTech. and Shubham Dokania, research engineer at Mercedes-Benz R&D India. Over to you, Sridevi.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Maybe a quick round of introduction is what we will start with. So I'll go first. My name is Sridevi Vadapalli. I take care of big data and advanced analytics at Daimler Truck Innovation Center, India. We're into the business of manufacturing trucks, and yes, trucks also use a lot of AI. So want to emphasize on that. And then I have in the past worked with retail, BFSI, so very insightful sessions so far. Over to you, Deepika.
Thank you, Sridevi. Hi, everyone. I'm Deepika. I lead the AI function for Honeywell Smart Buildings business unit. So our current focus is application of AI to make buildings sustainable and autonomous. And in the past, I've led AI programs spanning across domains like renewable energy, healthcare, real estate, and automotive manufacturing. Glad to be here today.
Am I audible? Hi, I'm Subhashish. I am a director of data sciences at Walmart Global Tech, where my responsibility is to close the data science team. My previous experience beyond retail has been in media and technology and FMCG, bringing about 16 plus years of experience, and look forward to this conversation.
Hi everyone, good morning. I think good afternoon now. Myself Himanshu Parashar. I am the director for Webtech Corporation, head the data science and the generative AI part, and overall 20 plus industrial experience. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Shubham Dokania. I am a researcher at Mercedes-Benz R&D India. My core area of focus is basically on the intelligence on the interior of the vehicle, but we also do support for autonomous navigation and ADAS systems. I look forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe we'll start with, not everybody is willing to start funding any project that has the word AI in it. That's not true. So like Bhavesh mentioned earlier in his brief talk, that something to do with productivity, something to do with customer experience usually is the focus in bringing AI projects in the corporates, right? I want to hear your perspectives on how do you decide on what should be the prioritization of AI projects in your organizations? Maybe we start with Shubham, because Shubham is belonging to a luxury brand, and luxury brands usually have a lot of money in their pockets. So is it as easy, Shubham, for
I would say that's a difficult question to answer directly, because sometimes yes, but I think a lot of these decisions are driven through what the customers require. So I believe one of the most important aspects is doing the correct market research and to figure out what use cases the customers are currently in need of, what enhances the luxury. So for instance, for our case, the focus is primarily to provide luxury while also being completely safe and respecting all the customers' requirement, right? So the market research is a very important aspect. Assuming that all of that is done correctly, in such cases, we find that funding essentially has to be allocated depending on how your AI projects, how your ideas align with the business decisions as well. So for those cases, we find yes, we do provide funding for such projects and accordingly drive the solutions. Thank you.
Do you want to add, Deepika? How do you do it?
So there are multiple factors to be considered when we have to scale AI, right? So the first thing to see is if there is data, enough data available. And then the first thing that we think of when we say AI is the underlying model, the machine learning model, the deep learning model, now the generative AI model. But these form a very minuscule portion of the complete AI solution. Right? So the infrastructure surrounding the AI solution is vast and complex, and this needs to be robust in order to enable these models to operate as expected. And so that's the first thing. And also the kind of skill set that is required for building AI solutions is not just about data science. It's also about data engineering to ensure the data is of good quality for these models to consume and analyze. And then comes the data storytelling piece. Right? So the insights from or the outcomes of the models need to be well articulated clearly to the business users. Because unless there is the business buy-in for AI, AI will not take off in any organization. And it needs investment. So the right kind of awareness to build an AI solution is absolutely necessary.
Okay. Himanshu, you want to add anything of how you are doing it today?
I think completely aligned with these points, especially when we investing into the artificial intelligence. The main thing is infrastructure, because the scalability, the concurrency, right, and the complexity and security top of these layers. So I see it is leveraging the resource is very effective. That's the fundamental things. Just like I take a small example. We know Google has world class the infrastructure, but that is the foundation layer. It is must to have. Similar way, it is what solution the industries are building. It is infrastructure is the fundamentally needed.
Okay. All of you mentioned that the value of the use case is one of the factors of driving how AI is being funded in organizations. But is value for any AI project always so easily measurable? Is it so easy to measure the success of a use case or a concept in the AI world? For example, I'll tell you, if I'm trying to bring in AI as a proactive measure for safety of a driver, there is no way to measure the ROI of this feature, right? I cannot put a price tag to the human safety. Is it so easy then to measure the ROI of any use case that we are? Do you have any experience of such challenging use cases where ROI is very difficult to measure?
Let me take a stab at that. So when I generally try to think of value from AI projects, right, I try to think of that in terms of kind of 4 quadrants maybe. One is, of course, it could help us with the top line or the bottom line. So it could yield revenues or save on costs. But there are 2 other crucial aspects. One is, does it result in creation of more organizational competency areas? Maybe it will going to help us incubate areas of competency like computer vision or generative AI. Now, the build time, the gestation period of these projects are large. So if you just purely look at from an area perspective, it may not make sense. But from a long-term perspective, it does make investment worthwhile, right? 2 is, does it lead to creation of artifacts that can be used across the organization? Does it lead to creation of intellectual property? Does it lead to creation of resources, maybe modularized codes, packages which can be used to create, let's say, platforms for the larger organizations? So this larger institutional, sort of oversight sort of is important when we look at the ROI perspective. Pure dollar numbers may not do justice when we look at it.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to add, Shubham?
Yes,
like,
so-
I know because you're working on the MBUX especially, like I want to know what's your perspective of ROI?
Yeah, so most times I agree with Subhashish that most of the times it's very difficult to actually estimate quantitatively how ROI impacts the use case decisions. However, there are still qualitative measures. So for instance, as you mentioned regarding driver safety, for example, while numbers do not do justice to how the use case ideas or AI might actually impact the performance, we still can actually measure driver safety. For instance, the number of accidents on road, the number of times they might get distracted while driving, for example, right? And this is applicable not just to cars, but also like trucks and any automobile in the sector, right? Similarly, maybe taking a completely different perspective here, that on the luxury side, that is another thing I think which is quite difficult to establish quantitatively, right? But I believe from market value and I don't know, sales could be a very good impact number. We can decide how it is being accepted in the customer community and from user research, from their evaluation and feedback. Based on those decisions, I think it's very important to drive how the research should move forward, which type of models or which type of approaches we should try to integrate more in our pipelines in the future, right? So that would be my perspective here.
Okay. Okay. That's good to understand that, yes, there is a pseudo way of, looking at number of accidents as a way to measure, say, the feature of the ROI for safety, for example. That's an interesting perspective. Deepika, do you want to speak of any example that you have where you've really succeeded in building a great ROI for your organization?
Today, the building sector emit about 1/3 of the world's carbon emissions. Right? Because of this reason, one of the key focus areas for our business is to enable buildings, commercial buildings, to go green. And during the pandemic, the indoor air quality came to the forefront. Right? We were recommended to have maximum possible ventilation. Now, the question was, how much is maximum possible ventilation? Right? And if we keep increasing the ventilation, it also means that we are going to be consuming more and more energy. Right? But if we do not bring in adequate amount of fresh air from outside into the building, we'll be putting the occupants' health at risk. So there was a need to strike this right balance between indoor air quality and energy efficiency in buildings. So for this purpose, we built machine learning algorithms, which would take into account multiple parameters like indoor air quality, be it CO2, PM2.5, TVOCs, the external weather conditions, the temperature, humidity within the buildings, occupancy in real time. And based on all these parameters, it would recommend the optimal amount of fresh air intake into the building. Now, we saw a lot of opportunity to optimize this ventilation dynamically in many buildings because most of them were either taking in more than required or lesser than required. So this was one use case for us for dynamically optimizing the ventilation. And once we deploy this solution, the next step would be to measure and monitor the efficacy of the solution. So for this, again, we built yet another machine learning algorithm, which would predict the baseline, or more like the expected amount of energy consumption in the building, given the current operating conditions. And then this would be compared against the actual energy consumption as per the meters in the building. And if the actual consumption is way beyond the baseline, then adjustments would be made in terms of energy consumption as we go along. Right? So these are some of the use cases where we could measure very clearly the ROI from an AI solution, saying that this is the amount of energy we saved because of this solution.
That's wonderful. Himanshu, since you are into, something very unique like, AI for trains, I wanted to hear any use case that you have that you could share with the audience today.
Yeah, sure. So when I was thinking that I will go next because in Waptec, we build the locomotives. I think maybe most of the people if not aware of, so we know the Vande Bharat train, right, which is Waptec is also building the trains and part of the government initiative, right? So I would say it is a couple of use cases I would like to share. Let's say one of the signaling system in railways, right, which is very, very critical, right? So generative AI, how it can, select the best path in terms of signaling. So at least, the signaling system, can improve overall. Then what is the shortest and best path to achieve, right? Apart from this, there are a couple of other use cases. We say the security measures, right? That is fundamentally very critical, especially in locomotives, trains. So these are, the areas we are working towards the generative AI. Apart from this, the AI operations, I would say the new things, which is, also we are working towards. So how the AI ops, because mostly people are working toward the generative AI, right? And building the solution. But equally parallel, it is important part of the AI operations because how this, in sustainable model, it can be achievable in long term.
Great, thanks for sharing that. I'll go into a slightly more, a topic that is lot debated in the world today, which is the biases in AI. So before I start with the questions to the panelists, I also wanted to mention that why these biases in AI are an important aspect to be, for all of us to be looking at, right? You may have heard in terms of how Google, when it launched its image recognition use case, way back they released the model for people to use. And one of the fundamental flaw in that model was that it looked at some people from Africa and categorized it as gorillas. This is really, really appalling to see how somebody has built a model. It shows inherently how the biases existed in that model. That's one example. The second example that I hear very often is on Amazon, on how they had built a model for hiring, the likelihood of people joining, and it was extremely biased from the gender perspective, right? So it's not just about building great AI models or using this technology of AI models, but to be very, very conscious, responsible, and be ethical when we build models of this kind. So one of the key questions that always comes is, if I take the example of Amazon, of how their model had the bias of gender inbuilt into it, it is also because of the society aspect of it, right? Because in history, number of women working in the corporate worlds were less, and the model had learned that itself. Now, it's not easy to take this bias off because our society is filled with a lot of biases inherently as well, right? So that's a perspective of every AI practitioner to have, that consciously can I remove those biases from the existing models or the models that we are building for the organizations. So I would like to understand what are the best practices organizations are doing to be able to tackle this bias problem that exists in AI and AI solutions that everybody is building at large. So maybe we start with Shubhashish. Walmart, I'm sure, is building tons and tons of things. There is also a Target story about biases that existed, if you're aware of the lady who was detected pregnant even before.
Walmart, the whole concept of ethical AI centers around the fact that we treat everybody with equal. Is that audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So in general, it really centers around ensuring that we deal with, or give the deserving request to all our customers. We treat them as equal. In general, if we talk about ethical AI, and I'm talking about a very general perspective, I think it has different paradigms to it, right? One is, of course, that we look at the bias in terms of that models can propagate. And there are different ways to deal with it. You can either pre-process the data before you put it to a model. There are ways that models can itself take care of themselves while you're building the models. I mean, models typically would optimize on something that we call as a loss function. You're trying to minimize on the error, for example, right? You can tweak that loss function to ensure there's some amount of minimization that happens for the bias itself. Or you can bring in the bias mitigation in the post modeling, sort of as a post hoc adjustment. There are fairly best established ways and means in literature to do that. Often at times there's a bit of a trade-off in terms of accuracy, right? When you're looking at bias mitigation methods. But it's not just bias, I would say. Many of the models that we see that are propagated now are opaque models, black box models, right? So makes it all the more imperative that we look at transparent machine learning models, which means that, again, a whole host of techniques have arrived, which ensures that models are interpretable at a global level, which means that we know why, at a meta level, the models are behaving why they are, and then at a local level, which is that we are able to kind of explain each prediction of sort. So, slightly holistic perspective, that's what I would suggest on. I mean, looking at overall bias, looking at the explainability of a model. Plus, of course, we talked about, gentlemen in the morning talked about regulations that are coming into play across different countries. So, even that needs to be taken into consideration while you're looking at it.
Yeah. So I think you bring up a very good point that a lot of these black box models, there is even no way to even find that it has an inherent bias that is crept into it. So There is a new concept called glass box models. I'm sure all of you must have heard. But the idea of the glass box models is about bringing explainability or interpretability of models so that people are aware what are those parameters that are contributing significantly to the prediction power of AI, right? That's an interesting thought. Thank you for that. But I would love to hear from others as well in terms of what other best practices you have in your organizations to eliminate bias as much as possible. I know 100% is never possible, but probably Deepika, what have you tried?
Yeah, so bias is one aspect, but quality as such, right? So there are three major challenges that we typically encounter when we try to operationalize AI at scale. One is the lack of data in terms of both quality and quantity. The second is the lack of the robust infrastructure. The third is the lack of probably understanding of how AI systems work, which requires a bit of a mindset transformation, which is the hardest nut to crack. Right. So in terms of best practices, what we do is we build those standardized data pipelines, which can be reused across use cases. And that's where frameworks like CRISP-DM, it may be an age-old framework, but is relevant even today. So these kind of frameworks really help building those data platforms, which can be standardized. That is one thing we follow. And we have those robust data engineering practices in place, right, to ensure that the quality of data is good in terms of bias. And when we deal with IoT data, it's mostly about missing values, anomalies, outliers, things like that. So those data engineering practices really help us build our AI solutions at scale.
Sure, okay. Himanshu, you want to add?
Sure. So basically, a couple of things I would like to just add, not to repeat. So in this security aspect, which is, let's say this is transformation journey, because now we are, shifting data science to a AI part, which is generative AI. So it is a, transformation journey, and people, mindset, mental model also, becomes gradually changed. It is not sudden. So of course, security is aspect, because when you build some, the solution on AI, so there are a couple of, let's say, the open libraries, open source, softwares, or, the libraries, which is, security and compliance is also the matters. So acceptability is also, becomes sometimes critical in these aspects. Then apart from this, when we talk about the future model, right over the, it is in going phases. It is not just, day one, just, plug and play. So I think those also go this way.
Yeah. Again, I like your point on open source, because anybody out there can put a model for consumption for many other users, and nobody knows how that model has been built, right? Especially when we have transfer learning concepts that are brought in. So something to ponder and think over when we try and use open source concepts, especially within production scale organization solutions as well. So that, Deepika mentioned about data being one of the biggest issues when we are also talking about biases. But I also want to hear the perspectives, and many organizations that I've worked in the past have always had data silos. Now that hinders a lot of how well you can build your solutions in the organizations. So, while there is progress being made to democratize data within the organizations, and now I do hear democratization of data across, there are organizations that are trying to share data and build, cross-collaborate as well. But how big is the data silo problem? Does it still exist? If so, in what magnitude? Maybe we hear from Shubham.
Yes, so I think one of the biggest challenges with dealing with data is the sheer volume of data that is available. So there's data from multitude of sources, right? You can have data from the customers, you can have data from different entities, and the products that are currently live from your organization, right? And every single day, there's a massive amount of data which gets dumped. So I believe first and foremost, the biggest perspective change that is required is about data warehousing, creating data lakes for easy access for anyone in the organization with the right amount of administrative access. So I mentioned access specifically because while it is important to collect data, have it in a centralized location, it's very important that we know which individual people have access to the data, in what capacity, and what this data is actually going to be used for. So we pay very high degree of attention to data privacy and how data must be protected, but also data quality. So we try to establish there should be multiple filters for all the data that you're collecting and how you arrange the data, which individuals have access to this data, and to document every single thing for what the data has been used for. So many practices, for example, data anonymization and just encryption is also to be taken into account so that to protect the data. For example, when you're dealing with data from customers, like what products they buy, for example, in an e-commerce platform, and what services they're availing. For example, for Mercedes-Benz, we also have data from customers who are buying the vehicles, right? People who are driving the vehicles in different locations. So all of this data needs to be protected, and no one should be able to access any private information, right? So data protection and data availability along with centralization play a very big role.
Yeah, I like your concept of centralization. That's cool. Maybe Shubhashish, how does Walmart today, are there data silos? How do you look at democratizing data in Walmart?
Kind of similar to what Shubham talked about, essentially ensuring that we have data in centralized locations, lakes, and so, and of course ensuring beyond, again, what Shubham talked about, we have appropriate metadata, data lineages mentioned. So we are sure about the provenance of it, the provenance of the data, the source that it comes from is something that we can track with accuracy. So that helps us establish a lot of trust and faith in the data sources.
Um, I recently read an article from Gartner which said about 50 to 54% of projects actually move from pilot to production in the AI space. That's really, really small as a percentage compared to the other technologies that are in place. So maybe Deepika, why do you think the pilot to production is so low?
So when it comes to productization, like I said, that entire platform is a critical piece. And then it is not just about building the models and deploying them once, right? It's also about maintenance of those models post-deployment. The AI ops or the ML ops piece is as critical as the development and deployment piece. Right? So there are going to be data drifts, there are going to be model drifts. So it becomes important to automatically identify these and trigger the retraining of these models. So many a time, the models are blamed to be not accurate enough, right? So that's one challenge where, because of which the operationalization of AI does not happen like it is expected to happen.
Okay, yeah. So I think that concludes our things. I just wanted to summarize 2 points, 3 takeaways. Please pitch in if I missed anything. But one is, look at the data that you feed into your models to be able to ensure there's no bias. I also like the idea of the centralized way of democratizing data. And third one is on how we can scale AI with best practices that were shared on the forum today. So thank you everybody for listening in.
Let me invite Rajesh Sharma and Gopal Sadhana to give my mentors, please, on the stage. I'll also require a photographer, yes. Yeah, go ahead, please. Meanwhile, since we are running short of time and lots of people hungry stomachs are crying, let me introduce Vishal Chopra, the next speaker for what is called as social finance innovation. He deals a lot on the full stack provider, manufacturing, risk management, and distributing wide portfolio of customized credit, insurance, and saving products for 300 million individuals spread across. That's a very large number of people. Can I invite Vishal on the stage, please? Vishal. A group photo with a smile or a thumbs up, or both. Okay, if Vishal is taking some time, it's a break. Maybe we'll invite the next panel. Bindu Reddy, Rebright Partners and moderator is the moderator. Let me invite Bindu, please, on the stage. This is about investors' perspective fueling AI growth. Please, Vishal. Okay, Bindu, if you don't mind, Vishal has just joined. So sorry. So Vishal has to leave early. So Vishal, please join on the stage. Vishal, go ahead. Keep a time limit of 5 minutes, please. Sure.
Can you guys put up my presentation? Yeah, thanks for inviting me here, NASSCOM team. So I run VRise. We're trying to build the largest fintech platform for small city India. So we are a 4-year-old company. I'll briefly talk about what we are building, what problem we are solving, and what the progress has been so far. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, so the core problem in India, I think in financial services, and while I'm not a core financial services guy, I worked with companies like Lending Cart as their CPO, and prior to that, Amazon. Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I worked with the financial services company, fintechs like Lending Cart. I was the CPO prior to starting this 4 years ago. And prior to that, I was in the startup team of Amazon. But there is one thing very striking in India. While almost 100% people in India have bank accounts thanks to what has happened in the Aadhaar and Jan Dhan accounts and the JAM treaty, the inclusion of financial services, whether it's credit cards, health and term life insurance and mutual fund penetration in India is just low single digits. So ranging from 4 to 5%. Like if you look at the number of credit card holders in India, it's like 3.5, 4 crore people. The number of people who have access to large ticket personal loans, again, 3 to 5%. The health and term life insurance, I'm not talking about LIC, but if you look at the real term life insurance and the proper health insurance, which we typically get from our employers, again, the top 4 to 5% layer of the country has these things. So why does this happen in the first place? So essentially what is happening is India, you can look at India into 3 parts, right? The entire India 1, 2, 3 is what we call them. So entire financial inclusion, typically that we have seen in terms of these products we talked about, whether they're credit cards, whether they're personal loans, whether they're health and life insurance or mutual fund penetration, they all happen at the top of the pyramid. So we call, there is not one India, there are 3 Indias. So India 1 is like a UK within India, which is the top 5-6% of India's population, which is people sitting in this room, paying their taxes, upper middle and middle class and richer people. And then you have India 2, which is like the Brazil within India, which is the middle and the lower middle class people living in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities. And finally, we have the rural poor, which is like 60-70% of population living in 6 lakh villages, contributing only to 10 to 15% of GDP. So the top of the pyramid, the 5-7% of population, which is probably 5 to 10% of population at a household level would be around 50% of GDP. India 2, which is like a Brazil, would be 30-35% of GDP. And then you have the rural poor, which is 10 to 15% of GDP. So essentially what has happened in India is if you look at all the private sector banks, fintechs, most of the insurance companies, everybody works at the top of the pyramid, the top 5% or the 7% taxpayer, millennial Gen Z, folks living in Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, NCR, larger cities, earning good salary, working in corporates. That's where majority of the focus has been. And government, rightfully so, focuses on the bottom of the pyramid, which is the priority sector. These people get farm loans, they get microfinance, they get this Ayushman Bharat insurance, etc. But there is this large part of population, which is the middle class of India, the lower middle class people earning anywhere from 10 to 20,000 rupees, 25,000 rupee in a small city. Think of, closer to Bangalore, Chennapatna, Hubli, Dharwad, up north. Think of Panipat, Sonipat, on the west. Think of Sholapur, Kolhapur, these kind of cities. That segment of customers, while they do have a decent disposable income, they're not poor, but they're not in the priority sector. So government does not really focus, and they're not prime segment, so the private sector bank does not really focus. So that's the focus area for us. These people do have bank accounts, but they do not have credit cards, they don't have health and life insurance, they don't have personal loans, they don't participate in equity markets. So that's the segment that we are focused on. And what we have done as a company, so VRise is a full stack phygital platform. What we have built is we do have an NBFC license, but we work with product partners, whether they're banks, NBFC, they're insurance companies, and co-create, co-brand financial products that are meant for the India to small city India customers. Second, we have our own ML-based underwriting. So we have 1 million plus customers across 5,000 cities right now since our launch in last 4 years. And we get almost 5 billion. We have currently 5 billion plus data points across million plus households across these 5,000 cities, using which we, okay, I'm almost done. Using which we design the risk management. And the coolest thing we have done is the distribution. What we have done is adopted a model similar to LIC, where we have a network of around 10,000 freelancers in 5,000 cities right now. And we have built a platform using which we are able to manage these freelancers at scale with no branches and feet on street of our own. That's briefly the platform. These are the numbers so far. We did a revenue of around 72 crores in last financial year. We are on track for close to 200 crores of revenue in this financial year. We became profitable 2 months ago. We have been EBITDA positive for almost 6 months now. In terms of equity, we have raised $26 million of equity. We are backed by decent private equities like British sovereign fund called CDC, Sony Financial Services Japan, and some others. Our NPAs are pretty good. We have a gross NPA of 1%. We have 1 million plus customers across 5,000 cities. So that's like a brief. Happy to chat up with the folks who want to talk more about this. And this is my email ID, Vishal@VRise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vishal. May I invite Anuj Gulati, please, to come on the stage and give, Vishal, just one second. We can't let you go without the award. So Anuj, photographer, please. Let me also invite the next panel. We're running short of time, so that's why Bindu Reddy, if you can kindly now come in. She's the moderator. Please come. Let me call the other panelists. Arjun Rao, General Manager, Special Incept Advisors. Amitesh Sinha, CVC and Vedant Spark. Chirag Gupta, Managing Partner, A-Tax Ventures. Nitin Agarwal, Group CFO, Religare Enterprise. All with big pockets. All right, over to you, Bindu. Bindu, request you to look at the monitor time. Otherwise, people will be cribbing about the food.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. And I'll keep this panel as quick as possible because next is lunchtime. So, yeah. I'll just give a quick introduction about myself and then we'll have a round of introduction from the panelists as well. So I'm Bindu. I work with a Japanese VC called Rebright Partners. I'm the investment principal there. We do seed stage investments anywhere up to $1 million. Our focus areas being healthcare, mobility, logistics, and supply chain, and some part of enterprise SaaS as well. We have 25 portfolio companies in India, and we are looking to expand this. Anyone who's interested in these spaces, who looking for funding, would love to chat up after this, right? So we'll do a round of introduction, starting with Arjun. So would love to get a quick intro about Arjun and Speciale, and then following each of the panelists. Yeah.
Thanks, Bindu, and lovely to be here. Quick introduction, I'm Arjun Rao, representing Special Invest. We're an early stage venture fund focused on what we call deep technology ideas. We typically invest between $500,000 to $1 million at the very early stage of a company, wanting to be the first institutional investor. Investment stage is pre-revenue, sometimes even pre-product. Deep tech can have multiple flavors. We have two broad buckets. One is enterprise software with AI, data,
privacies and what they should build. And once they started building for us, with collaboration from us, they are now market leaders. Even the regulators had to ask them before implementing a change that, are you ready? So from that perspective, that is the kind of relationship at Religare that we want to see with the ecosystem. And once those relationships reach a certain scale, then we want to kind of invest in them. And if they really become core to us, then we will rather want to acquire them fully.
Sure.
So our thesis is very clear that we want to build deep relationships. We are not here for a small valuation game or for getting something out as a service. We want to build deep partnerships and carry it along, build to scale, so that the real Bharat of the country can actually experience our products well.
Got it. Got it. I think that's great to see that a lot of corporates are coming forward to actually, adopt technology and to partner with startups, right? So in that sense, I wanted to just double click on this aspect as how the VC partners and the corporates are supporting the startups, being, you are at the intersection between the corporate and the startups, right? Would like to understand a little more on those aspects in terms of introductions, in terms of follow-on capital, in terms of getting in the larger VCs to back them up, right? So I think we'll start with Arjun, especially your portfolio is, like a very, especially the founder expectation, your LP expectations, right? How does that go about?
Yeah, I think from a support perspective, we try to keep it fairly simple and clear, right? There are three very standard things that I think most VCs, try to offer, and we also do that. One, particularly in the early stage of a company, access to new customers, right? For early stage companies, building a cutting edge technology product, can we get them the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pilot customers, right? Seems like I have a couple of candidates here for some of our portfolio companies already, right, that I can introduce you to. So very critical. They know how to build the product more often than not, or at least the technology. Can we get them in front of few customers so that they understand the requirements and the use case very clearly, and the value proposition built towards that. Number two, the other big challenge for startups, early team building. One key resource, the first head of sales, the first VP of engineering, right? 2 great engineers. Talent is always a challenge. Again, use our network, understand what sort of talent is available where, whether academia, universities, other startups, large companies, and find the right people. That is number 2 where we can help. Number 3, of course, which we should be reasonably good at because we are investors ourselves, is know the rest of the investing ecosystem and help them when they want to raise follow-on capital, right? Both in terms of storytelling, narrative, and then of course, introductions. The only specific thing I would add, which is which is targeted in deep tech, is like you said, because of the longer gestation period, the ability to break down longer periods of time without revenue into shorter milestones. Even though you might take 2, 3, 4 years sometimes to build a really complex product, right? And therefore you still don't have revenues. How do you break down the time inside that, right? Yeah. What is milestones in 6 months? What is milestones in 12 months and 18 months? And can you correlate each of those technical milestones or conversations with customers and industry to some risk mitigation? Because at the end of the day, all of us investors are looking to mitigate risk at every level. And if risk is reduced, we increase value, put in more dollars, and help capital provide capital for startups. So way to think about longer gestation periods is to break down those longer periods into shorter timeframes and internal milestones that can then be articulated to other people to say, hey, by doing this internal technical milestone, or by talking to 10 customers, getting letters of intent, right? Doing all of these, we have reduced risk. Therefore, even if it's going to take 4 years for me to get my first dollar of revenue, risk has been reduced in this company. Technical risk has reduced. Little bit of market risk has been reduced. So other investors can start coming. That's I think, the only specific nuance compared to other business versus longer gestation deep tech.
How Speciale is supporting startups, right?
Moving on to Amitesh, I would like to get your perspective on, working with some of the startups. How has your experience been working with, the corporate and startup businesses? Is there some, a lot of challenges, some friction? How are you kind of helping alleviate that part?
Sure. No, I think there are several use cases where startups have helped us achieve a lot of value. And I think one of the thing, I can talk about the technical stuff, but I want to touch upon two things, what they have done. Now, the startups have actually changed the mindset of the people who have worked with us. There are so many operators and so many people who have been working with very large players and who have been used to working with very large players. Now, sometimes, there's a constraint and you have a budget constraint, you have a little budget, you can't hire a very large consultant. You go out in the market and look out for a startup who can provide the solution. And we have seen few business units going through that. And now they're saying, now I will only want to work with a startup because, even if they fail, I don't lose much. But if they actually succeed, the value which I realize is far more better than what I could have realized from a larger consultant or a larger player. So that's one piece. And second, adding up to Arjun's point that how the corporates and the VCs are collaborating, I think it's a very important collaboration which we have been seeing, which we have not seen before. Maybe 2 years, 3 years, or even 5 years. It was unheard of that one of the large VCs we are partnering with very soon. The announcement will come where we are not only partnering that we will co-invest, but we are actually thinking how do we create an industry cohort, industry 4.0 and 5.0 cohort, that how do we maximize this value by just not investment, but it's all about the relationship, and not only about getting more partnership, but it's building that ecosystem.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think we are running a little out of time, so maybe we can wrap this up a little faster. Would like to quickly understand from Chirag, what is that one special thing that you provide to your startups, which help them accelerate to, let's say, next stage of funding, or get that scale?
So and I'll keep it short. So we actively work with our LPs to get them like either a pilot or a paid pilot, or preferably a purchase order. That is one thing that we spend a lot of time on. Second thing that we spend a lot of time on is helping them do a international expansion into the Middle East region, which is where we have a deeper roots as a company right now. And the last thing I wanted to mention, because Amitesh said, and which actually sparked my thought, I feel the entire CVC right now is a journey. And on a scale of 1 to 5, I see CVCs probably straddling between 2 to 3 right now. I think there's a long way to go. And we actually work and want to work with the CVCs very, very closely as much as we can to help them go up to level 5, because we do think that it's going to make a big difference. And right now, a lot of CVCs are early in the journey. So we work with our investors also, that if you want to actually launch a CVC, we are more than happy, not necessarily commercially, but more than happy to work with you to help you guys out. So we do that.
Sure. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Nitin, would like to understand your perspective on the support that Religare can provide in terms of their domain expertise. Which segments do you feel, or which problems you feel are very critical, and would love to interact with startups in those spaces?
So if you look at the BFSI space, it's a very complex space for a normal person, if you look at it. And what we can interact with the startups is the intersection of our domain expertise, the various technological aspects. We had two showcases today morning. Both of those can have a use case in our industry. The real need that we need to solve for is that they should help us do our processes more efficiently. Our go-to-market should be much faster than what if we were to build that process in-house. At the same time, there is various utilities that can help in reaching out to Bharat much faster. For example, the Newverse case that we did, if we were to just sell our insurance policies basis the mobile phone 1 minute diagnosis that can be done. So if we were to sell a smaller policy using that, that can be a very good use case. So our interest in the entire ecosystem is to build something specifically for us, or build a technology that can have a use case for us, which can expand our reach, make our go-to-market faster, make our products differentiated from the industry at large, or make our processes much more cost-effective. So all these things, when these things intersect with the technology, we can always invest in those, we can partner those, and we can actually provide the real revenue stream that the startups are actually looking for. And we can go to the extent of investing, acquiring, or even bringing more industry partners or industry voices to the startups. So from a startup culture point of view, we can actually provide the real fillip that is required for the startup to succeed.
Yeah. Great. I think this was a really interesting discussion. Thank you guys. Thank you very much for this panel discussion. I think the key takeaways I'm seeing here is that there is a lot of talent upcoming in the deep tech space, especially from the research background and IITs and IISCs, and especially fueling the next industry 4.0, right? I think that is the key theme, that where you are using AI and related deep tech to actually disrupt these industries. And of course, there are corporates supporting that, willing to do a PO, willing to actually partner with the startup in terms of businesses or investments. I think there is a lot of positive outcome that we will see in the next couple of years, and lot of startups that will accelerate with this kind of a support. Great. I think this was a very useful session, and I would encourage startups to reach out to the panelists for their business collaboration or investment discussions. Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, panelists. May I request Ms. Saloni Goel to join us on the stage for a quick felicitation round. And also Mr. Chirag Chen. In the meantime, I'd like to invite my colleague Shantanu to take over the next session for today's event.
For EV battery components, etc. Curious to understand. I'm based here. Yes.
So I'm going to talk about one of the flagship initiatives that we have, which is focused on digital transformation, and we are enabling the adoption of digital technology with various entities. So to keep it quick, I'm going to talk
about two major challenges that we look to address. One of which is the gap that exists in the tech startups, AI solutions, and the enterprises. And the other one is like as a CXO or as a key enabler, whenever you are looking to deploy any solution, then there are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of risks which you have to navigate. So this program essentially allows you to make sure that all those challenges are navigated. So far, we have done 4 editions and we have successfully deployed various solutions for various enterprises. Now we are in the 5th edition and it is exclusively focused on the insurance companies, general insurance companies to be more specific. And it has been a real pleasure to have these insurance companies come on board with their use cases. And we're trying to, as we try to make an impact for these companies. Over the course of next 2-3 months, we'll be working extensively for curating the best solution providers across the nation, getting them vetted through a jury panel, empowered by the industry, and finally working closely with their business teams in order to get the adoption of these solutions. So now I would like to, without any further ado, I would like to call upon Mr. Vinay Krishnan Nair, Head New IT Projects, SBI General Insurance, to please come up on the stage. While he is coming up, I would request Mr. Bhaskar Nerukar, Head Health Administration, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, to come up on the stage, please. Thank you. Mr. Ashutosh Shrotia, Head Products and Business Services, Care Health Insurance. Thank you. Can I have the presentation, please? Perfect. So first of all, I would like to ask Mr. Bhaskar Nerukar to talk about the use case that they have nominated, and it's AI-based risk scoring for underwriting. So if you could, spend some time talking about the use case, your key expectations from the solutions, and as well as from the program in general.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks NASSCOM for arranging this platform for us to connect with startup. I went around this band, and I just had connected with 2 startups with some solutions. Insurance industry per se is very conservative when it comes to technology adoption, but I have seen last 2-3 years we have been at the forefront of asking for solutions, and our solutions are very typical. We are just coming out of the paper-based workflows and mostly trying to convert digital to the digital workflows. Our solutions, we demand those solutions that whatever was happening in the paper-based this thing should be translated to digital mode. That is what is the ask is. But when I joined insurance industry 30 years back, one of my colleague, he said that the insurance industry should work like if somebody walks into my branch, by the time he reaches my desk, I will have some in my front available everything about him. And I can say that, okay, I can give you a policy. We laughed at him. But I think day has come today that all the technology pieces are there. If somebody walks into my office, a face recognition can give me his UID, his KYC. And by the time he reaches to my desk, there are scanners which will give me the risk associated with it. Now the technology pieces, I also talked to few startups, are there, not to the mark that we require, not to the level that we require. And one such a piece we are asking is AI-based risk scoring to aid underwriting. Health insurance underwriting is very typical. We employ medical resources, and you know that it's very difficult to get medical resources working in a corporate and doing some desk work. So the best way to take it forward is we have assisted. A lot of companies have put assisted underwriting, that some of the pieces worked out by machine and some pieces worked out by the doctor himself. But the next step now that we are asking is, can we have a AI-based risk scoring and doctor gets the complete risk scoring, and he only looks at the vital thing, those are required. Insurance underwriting is based on prognosis rather than diagnosis. I see most of the solution give diagnosis. What is your current heart rate? What is your current BP, SpO2? We want prognosis. And with these parameters, with the current lifestyle, what is the chance that he will meet with any health incidents in next 3-4 years? And there are some startups which are working in it, but that is the challenge that we are throwing to the industry, AI industry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nirupal. And before moving ahead, I would like to call upon Mr. Anuj Gulati on the stage as well, and so that he can talk about the various things later on and do the felicitation as well. A big round of applause to Mr. Anuj Gulati, please. Yeah. Now I move to the next use case, which is around AI-based digital sales. And I would like to request Mr. Ashutosh to touch about it and discuss the expectations that he has from the solution providers and also the use case in general.
Thank you, Shantanu. Technology can always help us automate our processes at the back end, and it can also help us digitize the interactions that our customers have with us. I remember when we started operations and when we issued our very first policy, it was done in a fully digitized manner because technology has always been at the forefront of all that we think. And I just compare it with when I bought my first motor insurance policy, I had to fill out a form which was called the cover note, and a carbon copy of that form was given back to me, and that was my policy for the rest of the year. So from that to now, not just the buying process, but also all other processes and touch points that customers have with us, there's a lot of scope for digitization. A lot of it has happened, and a lot of more digitization can further be done. Having said that, that business that we started when we sold our first policy has now grown, and we see that a large number of customers visit us on our website looking for a good health insurance policy. Some of them buy it unassisted, but sometimes people are not able to make a decision right then. And there is an opportunity to always reach out to them and help them take the right decision in terms of choosing the health insurance policy. Now, how can that be done more intelligently? I mean, what all information about that customer we have, and how is it that we can use that information to reach out to the customer in a more informed manner and thereby give the customer, he or she, a much better experience while buying a health insurance policy from us. For example, what was the product that the customer had explored? What was the sum insured he was looking at? What was the age group? How many members in the family? What time of the day did he visit us? What day of the week? What device did he use? There's a lot of information which we don't effectively use right now. So our challenge, to the participants would be to help us use this information in a very effective manner, so that when we reach out to our customers, we are able to connect with them instantly. We are able to get a better response, and thus have a better percentage conversion in our, on the leads that we acquire. So that, obviously helps us reduce our overall cost of operations in terms of, having the sales team do this, and also gives a much better experience to the customer and, increases our, brand value as well.
Thank you. Now I'll move to the next use case. Of course, this is a common use case which has been jointly been nominated by SBI General Insurance and Royal Sundaram as well. And Mr. Vinay Krishnan, I would like you to shed some light on this use case.
Thank you, Shantanu. This use case actually is more like a sequel to the use case that Ashutosh talked about. And what we are looking at is that there is a lot of data available. There is structured data available. There is unstructured data available. There is data available with the Insurance Bureau. There is a new set of data that is getting created with the help of the government, with the ABHA initiative as well. So what we are looking at is that, is there a way where we can look at the various health records? I mean, we don't want to look at the person's health records, but we want to analyze and understand regional patterns, urban, rural, industrial belts, because today what we typically roll out is one size fits all. We launch a product and try to sell it across geographies, across segments. So a lot of this, there may be a lot of mismatch. We may sell policies to or coverages to people who may not really want that. So what we want to try to, kind of build in is that you get a cover what you actually need. And thereby there is a lot of cost saving for the customer. Definitely he gets what he wants, and we also get a better understanding of our customers. So this use case is more of data leading to more data, and this data needs to be curated correctly, effectively, and scored so that we can underwrite better. Thank you.
Sure. The last use case that we had to skip. Yeah, this one. So AI-based claims automation and fraud detection. If Mr. Vinay, you could, and while others, please feel free to add, because we do have a lot of multiple use cases. While we have picked a few to talk about each of those. So if others have to add about any of the use cases, please feel free to do so.
Sure. So yeah, so I mean, health, we are all dealing in health insurance. Okay, so our problems are the same. We are dealing with the same customers. We compete at a different scale, but bottom line is we want to do the same good to the customer. And here again, fraud is a very integral part of the business that we are living with, right? And a lot of times there are false positives or false negatives, both which emerge by way of documentation or even by way of people using their own judgments. And there is a lot of processes that are put in place to avoid fraud. What we can look at, and with the kind of technology that is available right now, what we want to look at a solution where you go through the process of the expense documentations, the the various discharge summaries and all the other documents that are there, and not just give me an analytical report, which is important, but I also need a decision enabler so that I can understand, I clearly differentiate a fraud from another.
Okay, perfect.
So you want to add to this?
So fraud is one thing which is pushing back the health insurance industry today. Post-pandemic, we are saying there is a spate of frauds, and we are able to identify some. But identifying fraud is like finding half of the worm in your apple, because other half is already in your mouth or in your system. So what is estimated today is 17% health claims are fraud. And if we say that entire industry is paying some 20,000 plus crore to the market, then we are talking about a 3,400 crore problem, which all of us together need to solve. So yeah, fraud detection, if AI can help us, the solutions can help us to solve these problems.
Okay, perfect. So now I would like to request Mr. Anuj Gulati, since you are the chair for this panel, to share your digital experiences in the digital space from the insurance landscape, and also if you want to cite some specific examples, whatever you feel to share with respect to digital insurance, it would be really it would be really delighted to know more about it from you.
I just want to use this opportunity to thank NASSCOM, thank Religare for bringing health insurance center stage in a NASSCOM event. We fortunately are born at a time where, and we are scaling up our industry at a time where technology is all around us, and hopefully we can leapfrog some of the challenges that other countries have had in growing health insurance in that sense. I think it is also inspiring to see early on a felicitation where we saw examples of large companies partner with startups and solve for existing problems, helping them in that sense scale, grow faster. I think health insurance industry in itself is at a very, very interesting stage. 2003, this was 1,000 crore premium collection industry in this country. 2023, it's 1 lakh crore. The beauty is that even in the last few years, we continue to compound at 20% year on year. So this 1 lakh crore will become 1,20,000 crore 1 year from now. This 1 lakh crore will look like 2 lakh crores within 4 years. That is the scale that this industry is acquiring. Let's also not forget, as a country, we spend upwards of 8 lakh crore rupees a year on healthcare. So health insurance in India is underpenetrated. Health insurance is growing. That is the opportunity for each one of us in this room. There are the other big thing, of course, again, when something succeeds, it takes a village to build. The government is being extremely supportive of this sector at this stage. Things like the right to health, things like the whole digital health stack that they're building out, the fact that they've done a Ayushman, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, the Ayushman Bharat scheme, so on and so forth. We have a regulator, an insurance regulator who's extremely supportive, who's wanting to empower the industry and allow us to scale and attack the underpenetration problem. The chairman IRDA has set a vision that we want to get to 100% insurance penetration in India by 2047. So the kind of work that is happening in this country, at one end, the consumer, there is underpenetration, the government is supportive. And on the third end, I think what COVID has done for the industry. I think the level of everyone in this country has experienced the product, realizes the need for this product, right? And that is fueling growth. We are seeing that. We are seeing tailwinds in the sector. The problems that my industry colleagues today have highlighted are front and center, are strategic for us. How we select risk, how we manage our risk, how we scale from here. Once we helping us solve for some of these problems will help us scale bigger, faster in that sense. And solving for some of those problems will lead to scale for you, for your businesses in that sense. So my request to my colleagues on the other side who are building ecosystems, please work with us closely. I would encourage you to work on these problems, and if there are other ideas that you had, please bring them to us. We'd be very happy to partner with you, helping us grow, and along the way you grow along with us. Thank you so much once again, NASSCOM and Religare, for creating this opportunity. Yeah.
Now I would like to request Mr. Anuj to felicitate all the use case partners. Can we have an applause, please? Thank you. Thank you all.
Hold on. I think you should charge modeling charges. Just hold on, please. We'll request Mr. Asthana and Nitin Agarwal also on the stage for a group photo, please. Yeah, you should charge for modeling, let me tell you. I think a lot of people have gone out for lunch. I think it's a good phased lunch, but I think we have an AI camera on the exit gate. And let me assure you, you have to do this. Only then the exit door opens. So please eat well, and we hope to see you again in 30 minutes from now. Thank you.